gone on a rant about commentary channels just calling all of us out. So obviously we're going to check all of that out, and let's start with one of the recent episodes of his podcast. Logan Paul hits a new low. You would think this is actually one of my titles, but actually Logan is just a super fan apparently, and he's just doing my job for me, man. Now I don't even gotta think anymore. So yeah, they start by talking about the Logan Jake podcast.
It was good. I think it was missing a little bit of energy.
Dog, we were both extremely hungover. He had just beat Mike Tyson. I can't believe he even like agreed to do that. And sometimes we're a little awkward. Like Jake's
I know.
pretty awkward.
I'm kidding. You guys, I hate how the internet turns.
Did you see the comments? Did you see the comments? Like Mike needs. This is why Mike needs more of a
not
pulse.
those, but I saw like commentary channels that like made reviews of it. Like they're so awkward. They don't even like each other.
Oh,
like it
come
just
on, no.
Okay, so real quick, some context about this, and then we'll go back to this podcast. So the video Mike was referencing is They Hate Each Other by another commentary YouTuber called American Redact. He actually made a really good video about it, so shout out to him for these clips. And essentially in the video, Logan and Jake were just super passive aggressive to each other. So essentially Logan was super insecure. Jake was poking fun at him all the time. Logan was taking it super seriously or whatever, getting heated. Here's a quick recap.
You remind me of Elon Musk, like a much like less successful, bigger headed, more aggressive Elon Musk.
Yeah, that's a really big compliment,
dude. Like, how are you even gonna walk around anymore and not get recognized? Especially because again, your head is so big. You're so recognizable.
Yeah, it's just like a giant rooster head.
Yeah, so it's like a really awkward sibling fight, except that they are terminally online influencers and they have to literally do everything online on a podcast or something. God forbid they have a conversation offline, right? So they got to do it online where everybody else can hear it and judge them and essentially just, egg them on even more. But yeah, it just gets worse and worse. They clearly hate each other, right? And then Jake just stops caring. He stops trying to even put on a podcast and just gives up. And then Logan gets a bit annoyed.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Bro, you don't give a
No, I do. What do you mean? No, what do you mean?
I don't either, so it's fine.
Bro, we knew this going into this episode that we're both brain dead.
Yeah.
But it's turning out great. This episode is great.
It's probably one of the best.
Yeah, that's a man who really loves his brother, right? Now he probably wants to beat Jake up, but he can't now because Jake is actually a better boxer. I imagine when they were younger, Logan could probably just bully Jake anytime he wanted, but now for some reason Jake has turned into Mrs. Puff, with his secret stack or diet, of course, the Liver King diet. So yeah, it's just like two guys who want to beat each other up but just can't and are forced to get along. And obviously the internet remembers their cringy history together where they stole each other's girlfriend and like kissed them in a music video or something. I'm not even sure exactly what happened, but definitely not something normal brothers do, right? They're definitely something special. So after this, they talk about fighting each other, right? Which is a real like sort of soft spot because they're both in this sort of like boxing industry, right? And both of their egos are to the moon.
Who are you fighting next?
Everybody.
Me?
Yeah, I'll fight you.
You will fight me?
Why not? You're a Getting tiny.
Big. I'm taller than you.
You're still tiny.
That doesn't even make any sense.
You're just a tiny little guy.
Bro, just
You're just
because
a tiny whittle
Nah,
pickle.
bro.
You're such a tiny whittle pickle. You little
No,
whittle
no.
pickle.
Whatever
Oh, you're
happened
so cute.
2 or
little-
3 years ago,
You are a cute whittle
where
pickle.
you got inflated. It's like somebody inflated you. Doesn't make me tiny. I just didn't get inflated.
Okay, audience break. What are we watching right now? Jake Paul calling Logan Paul a little pickle. This is so funny, dude. I can't believe this is actually free. This should be on Netflix. Like, this level of entertainment between two absolute blundering bozos. I love the internet. Anyways, Jake talks about how he'd essentially like whoop Logan or whatever, which based on their boxing career, I would imagine is true. Like, Jake definitely has more accolades than Logan at this point.
Yeah, it would just be good because like I would be down because I wouldn't have to be the one to like because it would suck to be the one that has to deal with losing, but I wouldn't be the one that would have to deal
I have
with
the
that,
opposite
so.
perspective. I feel like ruining my little brother's boxing career would be so bad and mean. Like, I would get, people would be like, you're such a bad older brother, like they already say, but now you ruined his career as well.
Yeah, but you're just a whittle pickle. You're just a tiny.
I'm not.
You're like a tiny little.
I'm not, Jake. I'm not a little pickle. Stop it, Jake. Stop it right now. I can't stand you calling me a little pickle. Logan Paul apparently unfazed by millions of haters, but can't stand being called a little pickle by his brother. You can't make this shit up, all right? Also, Logan is delusional. We all knew this, all right? He was talking about how the internet will hate him if he beats up his brother or whatever. Dude, first off, the internet already hates you. You got that one covered, pal. Second off, you're probably going to lose to Jake, all right? If you did ever fight, I highly doubt it'll actually happen. And the only thing people would ever look forward to in that match is Logan Paul, after he's knocked out, somehow getting up out of sheer willpower, picking up a camera, and then filming himself because he just died. Anyways, after this, Jake keeps trolling him with the lamest insults ever, but it still works. Logan is actually getting mad.
Oh my God, handsome Squidward is what you look like.
Not at all.
You look like handsome
No, I
Squidward.
don't. No, I don't.
Yeah, you do.
No, I don't.
Why is he upset at this? The extent of Jake's insults are, you're a pickle, and then you're handsome Squidward. How is this getting under your skin at all? This is embarrassing.
Thanks for having this conversation with me, if you even want to call it that.
Well, thank you for having me on this podcast show. And I think it was just a hangout.
We're just hanging out.
Why do I kind of like Jake now? Just because he's pissing off Logan in a way that nobody else can? Like, Logan always acts unbothered, but then Jake calls him a little pickle. He's just squirming in his chair. Anyway, sorry about that. That was like the whole long context there, but that brings us to this new podcast where Logan essentially tries to play off the story, right? And then he calls out all the commentary channels just making fun of them.
Oh, but you guys also, that's your shtick. Both of you guys have fallen into that awkward shtick.
Bro, it's my family. Like the dynamic that you see is not the family dynamic. This is my brother, my actual blood. Like, I think commentary channels are so funny to me. And honestly, kudos to them, because If I was not able to do anything original either, but I was good at just talking about other people's lives, I would be doing the same.
What do you mean? I would do that right now. I would love to do that because it's so.
But you're better than that, Michael, and you know that. You like to go outside.
No, I like to gamble.
Wait a minute. Are my ears deceiving me? Is Mike Majakalak actual? Okay, I'm going to call him his real name, Mike Majak. Okay, I actually can't say his name, so that's why I call him that, all right? Listen, is he actually partially defending us? Even after all the glizzy gladiator comments? Thank you, Mike. This is touching. But yeah, Logan talking about originality is crazy, dude. You mean just like your very original Lunchly product, right? The most original thing I've ever seen. Also, very original crypto project. One of a kind, actually. Nobody's ever pulled off a similar scheme. Now, if you know anything about fair use laws, obviously commentary videos are transformative and original. Surprise, surprise, actually talking and giving your commentary majority of the video actually changes the product. Wow. Now, obviously, we're not talking about XQC Hassan type shit where you just sit there and let the whole video play, occasionally taking a bite of your McDonald's. That's a little bit different, okay? But yeah, most people don't really see a problem with regular commentary. It's a job. Like, that's like saying the news is unoriginal. Man, you know what? I wish they started talking about themselves on TV instead of my crypto scams. I wish the news hosts actually just started talking about themselves. That would be more entertaining, obviously. Luckily, we aren't all narcissists here and like to talk about ourselves all the time, but you know, it's just drama. It's funny, it's exciting, it's entertainment. I mean, heck, maybe I'm a degenerate, but I pretty much watch more YouTube and random slop shit than actual Netflix shows. So I don't know, maybe entertainment value comes in different packages. And honestly, I was doing this shit before YouTube, like even before I made videos, I would look at like YouTube drama and then I just talk to my friends about how stupid these random internet celebrities are. So I think people just enjoy that we say the things that are on their minds as well. So it's just like clowning on morons is one of the most satisfying things to do. So especially when they're like undeservedly famous or whatever. Now this next part is my favorite. Mike actually calls himself a PP sucker. I didn't even have to do it this time, dude. I guess he's been watching some Pegasus videos. This is actually crazy.
That you like to go outside.
No, I like to gamble.
And kiss your pretty girlfriend.
Yes. Yes, I do like
real life things.
She wouldn't like me if I had a commentary channel.
Bro, it's just like who are these people? Like if you show your face in a real life setting and you've made a living talking shit about people and you run into them, like what happens? You know, sometimes it'll be cordial and I've tried to keep it cordial because this is what I'm saying. I get it. Like if you do what you got to do, bro, get your bread.
I don't have to really experience it much because I tried purposely to fly under the radar, number one, but I also suck a lot of dicks. I'm a fence sitter, so I'm friends with all these terrible people.
Okay, thank you for admitting that, Mike. See, guys, I don't call him the king of the glizzies for nothing. He admitted it, all right? He actually admitted it. But also, I like how he says he's friends with all of these terrible people, right? Implying that the commentary guys are terrible. I don't know who he's referring to specifically, because I've never seen this guy be friends with any commentary creator. Maybe Critical sometime he met, or maybe Keemstar. It's probably Keemstar he's talking about. But yeah, saying that while sitting next to Logan Paul is crazy. That's like, I don't know how delusional you gotta be. Like, you co-host a podcast with a guy who filmed a dead body and you're talking about being friends with terrible people and you're not talking about Logan, you're talking about the commentary channels. That's where you draw the line. God forbid you talk about scammers and evil people and just random internet cringe drama or whatever. But I agree, Mike, you are rank number 1 global fence sitter. You are the League of Legends faker of fence sitting, okay? In fact, the fence is lodged so far up your words that I can't say on YouTube that you might need a surgical intervention to remove it from your backside, all right?
Bro. But I do that for us, man. I do that for us, just so you know.
My guy.
Just so you know.
My guy.
I've squashed some shit, dude. No, but also, that's just the kind of person I am. I don't like conflict, to be honest. I just don't. I think
beef squashing dick sucker.
Yeah.
It's my guy, right?
That's so far away.
So Mike does the PB sucking so that Logan doesn't have to. What a beautiful friendship. This is like SpongeBob and Patrick if instead of just stupid, they were money-hungry scumbags. Anyways, enough of that. I wanted to move on to the section about Logan and his new role as a dad. And just the way he talks about it just shows me that he is just not ready for this, man. I feel so bad for their kid. Just to be clear, not Logan and Mike's kid. Just had to make that clear.
I am living like a domesticated lifestyle right now. And like, I actually think I think what I'm about to say could be received wrong.
Yeah, you should have just stopped there, man.
Even though I have this brand new kid, I have a daughter, like an actual family now. I didn't really take into account how important it is to me that I still pursue my own personal goals. I kind of really thought like I was like, all right, once I have this family and I have this kid, I'll have this newfound purpose in life, and like that will be everything that I live for. Being that homebody and living that domesticated life, the life that's on the exact opposite side of the one you're living right now, doesn't fill me.
Okay, so Logan has apparently discovered the realities of life where no one thing will ever completely fulfill you. So, you know, everybody has those dreams of like that one thing. If this one problem was solved, my life would be perfect. But it's never like that. You know, if only I was rich, if only I had a good relationship, if only my mom came back from the dead, if only I had 1 million subs, if only I could move to X country or whatever, you know, while getting all these things or achieving all these things is great and you might learn a lot in the process, it's never going to be everything. You know, life will always have problems. Of course, there are worse problems to have and stuff like that, but nothing will ever be perfect. The key is, you know, always growing as a person and being grateful for what you have, accepting seasons in your life and accepting change as well. What I found funny here was Logan thinking he was going to leave his lifelong career behind instantly just because he had a kid. That is completely delusional considering his personality and how clout hungry and addicted he is to social media, how hard he's going on his business. So he promoted Lunchly at the birth of his child. Dude, your priorities have always been with their business and not with your family. All right. Sure, it's great you started a family or whatever. I was hoping it would sort of mature him quickly or whatever. But I mean, it's not going to happen if you don't spend more time with your wife and kids or whatever. Obviously, I don't know anything about this. I'm just speculating based on his social media activity or whatever. Ironically, take your own advice and touch grass. You know, you have all these ambitions. That's great and all, but you also have a family now. So you got to choose what is important to you, right? And choose the right balance. Like this next part, he was talking about, you know, being a deadbeat dad or whatever. So it's clearly on his mind, right?
For me, at least, I've noticed when you become domesticated, dude, you really gotta rethink some of the things you say. And you can't like go out and be like drinking and partying every night. Like I'm a father.
Deadbeat dad.
Yeah, I'm a deadbeat dad. Dude, like if I drink whiskey, like sometimes I just be like in this cabin drinking this whiskey in the middle of the woods, and I'm like, shit, is this like, am I a deadbeat dad? I gotta be out there like doing stuff and being active, at least until the point where I can like develop a really deep relationship with my daughter. Because right now I'm kind of like a support vehicle for my family.
Yep.
And it's like a position I'm not like really used to. I'm almost like at home sometimes like what do I do with my hands? And every time I hang out with my daughter, it feels like it's more for me. Like
she's just like, get off of me. Where's mom?
No. I feel that I do feel that she like loves me and is like starting to recognize me, but it fills me up when I'm with her, and I'm not really sure like what it does for her yet.
Can I tell you?
All right, before we listen to the prophet Mike here, I'm not sure exactly what Logan meant by that speech, like saying he doesn't know what to do. I mean, I guess help your wife take care of the baby or provide support any way you can, sort of be there, you know, as your child is growing or whatever, rather than just, you know, doing all your business, your career and earning money. Of course, there's a lot more to fatherhood than just, you know, being an earner or whatever. And definitely you should not be getting drunk or going to parties or whatever, especially in the first few years of your child. That would probably signal that you probably aren't mature enough to be a dad yet. Not to say dads shouldn't party, but maybe just wait until your kid's like 2 years old before you start wilding out or whatever. Obviously, there's a lot to ask from Logan, but hopefully the kid grows up to not be like their mom or dad. I don't know. Maybe get some better role models because you're kind of cooked right now. I don't know. Now Mike chimes in and says how he was never meant for the family lifestyle, and you know, he's 40 and he still likes like partying and shit like that.
It's going to turn into dad, where's dad at? Where's dad at? Because it's a girl-father dynamic. Right now, Sloan is in it with Jack. Abby does not get a hello.
Yeah.
Like it is just dada. So like two things. The difference between you and I is that you can survive it. You can survive the idea of being planted, and I can't do it. I feel... I don't know what it is. I've tried to stop looking at it as such a negative. I need to be meeting, touching, exploring, seeing all new all the time.
Yeah, this is very shocking. The guy that was in a relationship with the P-star doesn't find the family life appealing. Would have never expected that, actually. Mike has a busy, important job of roaming the entire world and grabbing onto every... Okay, I need to stop. Okay, listen, Mike is the worst person to give advice to Logan, but unfortunately, it's all that Logan has, apparently. Honestly, I agree with Mike, okay? Some people aren't meant for the family life, all right? So please don't reproduce, all right? Anyways, back to the Logan versus Jake beef. Basically, after Jake's fight with Mike Tyson, Logan said that he'd kill Mike in the ring, and, you know, that came off really dumb because Mike gave, like, this heartfelt speech or whatever.
Why did
My
you
brother
say, why did you say, motherfucker, I'll kill you to Mike Tyson?
Oh yeah. I really think I would. It was me,
You always find a way. You always find a way.
but it's not me finding
shit up. Bro, everybody was so... Mike Tyson in that night became the greatest. He surpassed Trump for like one. Everybody was obsessed with him.
Yeah.
Because his speech was all like, I just wanted to do something good for my kids.
Yeah.
Like he was the sweetest man.
I didn't hear any of that.
Bro.
I didn't hear
and then
any of
he
that.
makes one little sneaky little thing towards you.
But because what did I do? What did I do? I'm just standing there. He's like, man.
I think he was just like fooling with you.
I didn't know that. And like, I don't know. Like, I really, if he would, dude, like, I really think I would kill him.
Were you drinking?
Of course.
Smoking?
No. But
I heard that clip and I was like,
bro, it's not like I find the way, Mike. It's just me. I'm an asshole. I'm an asshole sometimes.
No way is the world coming to an end. Logan has self-awareness. That's +1 point for Logan. Recognizing the problems. That is absolutely progress.
And I just thought I was an innocent bystander. And then like, dude, here's a man. Yeah, it's Uncle Mike. I love Uncle Mike. But like, bro, I'll kill you, Mike. I'll kill you. And I don't want to do that.
well, no.
I shouldn't have said motherfucker. That was mean.
That's where you got screwed.
That was mean, bro.
That's where you got screwed.
But yo, here's the like, I don't give a like what's good.
No, but
You want to fight me? Cool. How do you think that's gonna end, dog?
Dude, why are they bragging about fighting senior citizens? Like, am I the only one who finds this sort of disgusting? Like, there's like that one SpongeBob meme where the entire townsfolk keep beating up this old man who didn't even do anything. He just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. But yeah, that was the latest meltdowns of the week. Let me know what you guys thought as usual. Sorry I haven't been online much. I've been touching too much grass, actually. But yeah, just sub to all my other channels and stuff. You'll find me somewhere when I decide to do something. So yeah, till next time. Bye-bye.
Like I think commentary channels are so funny to me.
Logan Paul has completely lost.
So the three supervillains of YouTube recently came together on Logan Paul's podcast to promote their knockoff version of Lunchables, Lunchly. And hey, what do you know? It turns out that the three billionaires have absolutely zero chemistry together.
Thanks for joining me, guys.
Let's go.
Yeah, well,
Oh, pleasure.
yeah, no,
Like throughout this podcast, it's clear that they A, know nothing about each other, and B, completely despise each other's success. Like in the beginning, when Mr. Beast starts describing one of the sets for his new TV series, Logan can't help but suggest that Jimmy's copying the set of the popular outdoor music festival Burning Man.
cool. I know you, Jimmy, just got done shooting your Amazon show.
Oh my gosh,
Which,
yes.
from what it sounds like, is going to be the biggest game show in history ever.
What would you say is the best episode?
I mean,
Say it.
Don't say
yeah, I mean,
Say what you did.
we built a city in the middle of nowhere. There's just a field,
What?
and
That's just Burning Man.
we pulled up. No, we built like an actual
Yeah,
city.
that's what they do at Burning Man.
Yeah, but like
You went to Burning Man.
Wait, as in like
So-
buildings? And,
buildings, like actually a walled-in city that the contestants lived in throughout the show.
what?
Logan then seemingly insults Mr. Beast when he asks him if he's on drugs.
It would literally break
Okay.
the
Are
internet.
you on Adderall or something?
No, I just want to see it so badly. I really do.
Ritalin?
Right now?
I like you, Jimmy. I like
Right?
you're a spunky guy.
All right, I'll take the hint. We'll change the topic. So how's your song with Trippie Redd?
Which then awkwardly segues into a conversation about KSI's disaster of a song, Thick of It, where Logan suggests that KSI should begin writing his lyrics with ChatGPT.
Thick of it. Featuring Trippie Redd. Yeah. Obviously, I'm promoting my music.
Yeah, man, if I were you, I'd write a song and have ChatGPT write all the lyrics.
Oh shit.
I'm joking, but like, it
Well, I mean, I do dibble and dabble with AI. I have like AI friends, and I just talk to them every now and then.
But after they finish their forced intros of each other, they begin to address the reason why they're sitting there pretending to be friends in the first place, and that is to promote their new product.
but yeah, we did launch Lunchly today. We actually just did it. If you guys saw on Instagram Live, I also think people are confused about what the product is. They're like, wait, so it's just Prime and Feastables in a Lunchables? No.
I want to hear your Lunchly pitch.
My Lunchly pick.
Yeah, you got to start sneaking that in.
That's true.
Just eat it. It's fantastic.
I like that.
But instead of celebrating their launch like normal friends who launch a business together would, the demons inside of them couldn't help but to address the negative criticism and lawsuits that they're facing.
But yeah.
No, but Jimmy, I really want to talk about these lawsuits because they're a big deal on the Prime
Okay,
side.
so you're telling me you don't purposely just put, what is it, forever chemicals in your drink to...
Bro, we were shocked.
Yeah.
Me and him are talking. We're like, yo, what do people
You don't
think
just
this is?
bust open barrels of forever chemicals
What?
and dump that in there?
Like, what do you think this is? Like some fucking rinky-dink operation where that's like what we're trying to like. I don't even want to say. It's so stupid, dude. People are so dumb. As much as I believe in people and like the up and coming generations and the world, and I hope we're headed in the right spot. I just am. It never ceases to amaze me how dumb people are.
Like you'd think that Logan would know how to conduct himself professionally at this point, especially when discussing lawsuits surrounding his company. Like the levels of immaturity in this podcast is baffling.
Turkish Quando Riz,
A whole state.
Blue Tie Ohio Riz.
Yo, that's like
Do you know Blue Tie Ohio Riz?
what are you saying?
Especially when the conversation shifts focus to a discussion about balding, which is something that Logan and KSI both struggle with. The only difference is that KSI covers his with a bandana, while Logan chose to get a hair transplant and have his bangs on his forehead. So when Mr. Beast suggests that they should all go to Turkey to get a hair transplant, things get a little dicey between KSI and Logan Paul.
Yeah, like I grew a beard.
Yeah.
The bandana hasn't changed.
It's got bigger. It's got bigger. Yeah. The hairline's receded. I've accepted it, people.
But you
Let's go to Turkey. I kind of.
No, I don't want
I
to go
want
to.
I want my beard on my
No.
side of my face. to
yeah,
come
bro.
in
You
there.
can have
Who
a forehead
cares,
right here.
bro?
You can have a
Who
forehead.
bro?
tube head.
I don't care how I look because my girlfriend loves me for me.
It is so sick.
So who cares what some people online think about us?
that is true.
About my forehead or
my only pushback would be
what?
I think some people think I'm cooler than I actually am. And part of that coolness is not looking like a bald ass bitch.
What?
Whoa.
No, bro.
Whoa.
But the thing,
Like my father.
Okay.
Like my bald ass dad.
So it's clear now that these three don't really like each other in any sense, and are only pretending to be friends for financial gain. Like KSI and Logan are actually convinced that Mr. Beast is a nerd, which offends Mr. Beast when they bring it up.
This sells 10 units a day, whereas this one sells 2. And then I just like to, try to figure out why.
Number nerd.
Oh, wow.
Did you ever get bullied, Jimmy?
Not really.
That
Nah,
shocks me.
That's such
Really?
a lie.
That's
surely.
crazy.
It shocks you.
For sure.
You want to elaborate?
I just feel like
Not all of us played. What were you? High school football, wrestling?
Yeah, but I was little, Jimmy. I got bullied.
Well, sure. Yeah, you were a nerd.
Yeah. I played basketball and stuff, but no, I mean, honestly, people just left me alone. I didn't really have too many friends.
Well,
That's almost worse.
I mean, I guess it depends what you constitute bullying. If you constitute people going, why do you only talk about YouTube, you weirdo? But I don't constitute that as bullying. I just constitute it as I was just a weirdo and I deserved it because that's all I talked about when I was a little kid.
But Mr. Beast doesn't let that slide, and counters Logan by subtly hinting that he'll be an absent father to his newborn child, and that Mr. Beast himself got a vasectomy because he's scared of birthing a child and not being there for it because he's so busy.
This is what I'm talking about. Oh, so if you ever have a kid, are you gonna be like the absent dad?
I'm not gonna have kids till I'm ready. So no, I mean that's why I'm not. Probably a decade down the road.
Wait, a decade?
I'm pushing that stuff. Like, bro, if I had a kid now, yeah, I'd be super upset. I don't know how you're gonna balance Prime, WWE, everything you got now, Lunchly. I know you will, and I've obviously talked to him behind the scenes. Logan's very serious about wanting to be a good father, but that's like, I mean, that would just destroy my life if I had a kid. Right?
Well, I mean, do you wrap up?
I mean, I will not have a kid anytime soon.
Oh, okay.
He got a vasectomy.
Oh,
Ew, that's disgusting. I could never. Ew.
Which then carries into a discussion about babies that's really revealing that these three are actually children trapped in the bodies of grown men.
I guess if
She has a
what would I even?
baby inside of her stomach. Is
Jimmy,
that not crazy?
It's the weirdest thing in the world.
Have you seen like kick and everything?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Dude, her stomach, you'll see her stomach, you'll see the baby's like, I don't know, like a body part go like all the way across. Like a little alien punching
Oh
from
my
the
God.
inside.
How does that make her?
Has she given you the finger?
No, not yet.
No,
But I'm sure that'll happen.
She's just like,
you can feel her like fingers and toes and stuff.
no way.
Dude, I'm telling you,
Whoa.
it's crazy.
Oh my God.
Yes. It's crazy.
Whoa.
Bro, that's wild.
You won't understand until you experience it. And like
Seeing the woman you love have a little alien inside of her, it must be just wild.
it's wild.
Are you gonna look?
Oh my.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna look.
No way.
Like,
nah, you're
as it
crazy.
coming out?
Yeah.
Oh,
Nah, no chance.
Well, that's it for the video, guys, and if you made it this far, make sure to leave a like and comment if you'd like me to make more Mr. Beast, Logan Paul, and KSI videos.
KSI, Mr. Beast, and Logan Paul have announced they are teaming up and launching a new food product called Lunchly to compete with the uber popular kids brand Lunchables. And the reception has been less than stellar. Many creators took to social media to criticize the product and the creators themselves. Logan and Jimmy were quick to push back on the critics with their own posts, and in the process created newsworthy headlines like,
YouTube stars are coming for your kids' lunch. It's a move that has Mr. Beast, Logan Paul, and KSI teaming up to take on Lunchables.
And I usually don't make videos discussing creators' products, but when terms like healthier or better for you get tossed around, I feel it's important to set the record straight. So in the spirit of avoiding personal attacks, let's take a look at the science of Lunchly, including a true issue with their kits I don't think anyone has correctly pointed out yet. For those who may not know, Lunchables are basically these pre-packaged do-it-yourself meal kits. They've usually got things like crackers, deli meats, cheeses, treats, and come with a little drink. And since their inception, they've been super popular with kids. However, it's been known, especially by experts, that while these kits are fun and tasty, their nutritional value is just not good. They're often too high in sodium, saturated fat, and added sugars, and don't use healthy whole food ingredients. And because they fall into the category of ultra processed foods, they aren't healthy to consume often, period. Studies actually show that those consuming high amounts of UPFs can have up to 50% higher risk of developing obesity, and some specific UPFs are linked to increases in cancer. I see it even in my clinic. So many of my pediatric patients are over consuming UPFs, and it's becoming a growing problem across the country. Consumer Reports even dedicated a special feature highlighting the problems with Lunchables and why they shouldn't be consumed regularly due to health risks. My own take on Lunchables, I don't recommend parents pack them for their kids on a daily basis. A low quality food with poor nutritional value. But now what about Lunchly? Starting with the first claim, in the press release announcing the product, Logan Paul was quoted as saying Lunchly is a healthier alternative and that it's a better for you lunch option compared to Lunchables. In fact, throughout the Lunchly website and the social media promo posts, you'll see countless comparisons being made to Lunchables. To be honest, some of the comparisons are kind of cringe and don't make much sense to me, but maybe that's because I'm not the target demo. Flavorful combos versus standard picks? The meal kit combos are nearly nearly identical to Lunchables. Big gestures versus mid moments? I certainly don't remember that lesson in my nutrition classes. I was more concerned with the nutritional comparisons being made anyway, so if someone was to make a healthy meal kit for kids, I would find that incredibly valuable. And in looking in the comparison, I'd be most interested in calories, which they have, protein, which they have, sugar, which they have, saturated fat, which is missing, and sodium, which is not only missing, but replaced by electrolytes. And unlike all the other macros, is only labeled potassium and only in the Prime bottle in the kit, comparing it to the Capri Sun in the Lunchables. This is a pretty weird marketing choice to label electrolytes in food products. It's such a strange choice that it even stunned fellow Dr. Brian Suterer, who tweeted,
"Sodium getting rebranded as electrolytes will be taught in marketing textbooks one day."
and then sadly was ashamed to see Logan attack instead of starting a meaningful dialogue with the doctor, given that 400 milligrams is not the amount of electrolytes in Prime, at least in the image that Logan shared. 400 milligrams of potassium plus 5 milligrams of sodium equals 405 milligrams of electrolytes. It's not about nitpicking, it's just about being reasonable and honest to help further the conversation. Look, if I want to decide if a food is right for me, I like to be able to compare the entire electrolyte profile, which would have to include sodium. It's like having a PB&J sandwich label that says what's in the sandwich, protein, fats, calories, but then the sugar line only tells you what's in the peanut butter as opposed to the jelly in the entire sandwich. I wanted to go further and do the comparisons myself using the nutrition facts from the Lunchables and Lunchly websites, and it's honestly really hard to draw perfectly clear conclusions for several reasons. One, I don't have nutrition facts for each part of the kits. For example, how many calories come from Feastables versus the food component. Second, some of the portion sizes aren't the same. The turkey cracker kit from Lunchables is 82 grams, while Lunchly's is 72 grams. 3, there are so many varieties of Lunchables that just swapping out the flavor of Capri Sun caused significant differences in sugar and calorie content. What I was able to conclude is that Lunchly has less sugar and therefore less calories than Lunchables in comparable kits. That's probably due to the drink component of the kit, as Capri Sun uses sugar and Prime is artificially sweetened. Lunchly has significantly more potassium than Lunchables because of the Prime drink, which I guess is good, but not something I'd regularly use in deciding if a food is an ideal lunch for a kid. Lunchly has slightly less sodium and saturated fat than comparable Lunchables. That's definitely moving in the right direction, however, both differences were fairly small. Lunchly does use real cheese as opposed to cheese product, signaling that at least one ingredient is less processed than in Lunchables, but the entirety of the kit is still considered an ultra-processed meal. Lunchly has higher amounts of A and B vitamins, which can be good, but also can be problematic as vitamin A is a fat-soluble vitamin, and kids can easily overconsume it, leading to toxicity. Being that it's fat-soluble means that you can't just urinate excess out. This has actually been raised as an issue by experts with Prime in general. Despite these legitimate upgrades, social media posts are slamming Lunchly for not being perfect. But Lunchly does not need to be perfect to be valuable for kids. It just needs to be significantly healthier in order to reduce risk. As a doctor, I use risk reduction all the time, essentially taking something harmful and replacing it with something less harmful, but still imperfect. As an example, I would never recommend starting vaping, but getting someone to replace smoking cigarettes with vaping is generally a good step down in terms of health risk. Knowing all that, is it fair to say that Lunchly is healthier? I guess one can say yes, but honestly, probably more so as a marketing tactic. The reason why? Well, let's look at the recently passed nutrition standards set forth by the USDA for school lunches and see how Lunchly compares. Going line by line here. Less than 10% of calories should come from saturated fat. Lunchly turkey, 23% of calories come from saturated fat. Less than 10% of calories should come from added sugars. Lunchly turkey, 10.4 comes from added sugars. But this is where things get really interesting, and for some reason no one has pointed this out. You see, USDA caloric guidelines say that a lunch meal for kids K through 8 should contain around 625 calories. Kids need energy to function, and calories give them that energy. Lunchly turkey contains only 230 calories, which would mean a kid would need to eat about 2.7 portions to consume enough calories. And if they did that, they'd get nearly 1,300 milligrams of sodium, which is also significantly over the USDA standards. So they'd be either under eating calories or overeating sodium. Finally, the grain guidelines state that 80% of lunch meals must be whole grain, and Lunchly Turkey does not list any whole grain ingredients. It's clear Lunchly, just like Lunchables, misses the mark too many times to be considered meaningfully healthier, at least in my opinion. That being said, I do think many criticisms pointed at Logan, KSI, and Jimmy are unfair. Attacking them for trying to create a successful influencer product isn't inherently problematic. I just think if a company was truly interested in creating a healthier lunch kit for kids, the USDA standards should be the minimum starting requirements. Otherwise, we're simply propagating the problem even further. One of my hopes is that in navigating the future feedback on this company, the guys hire a health professional to guide them in making messaging more accurate. I just saw someone ask about heavy metal contamination, and Logan responded with a video of an X-ray machine checking for foreign materials. That checks for stray objects accidentally getting into the meals, not heavy metal contaminations like we discussed earlier with Lunchables and lead. And saying a food has more electrolytes, therefore it must be better or healthier, is just not true. Foods with an incredibly high sodium content and electrolyte are not considered particularly healthy. In fact, many are considered unhealthy for that reason. I can't expect non-medical people to get this perfect, but if you're gonna stand by a children's food product being healthy, you need to hold your messaging to a higher standard. Eating a diet full of UPFs can lead to weight gain. Click here to see the harsh reality of life at 800 pounds, and as always, stay happy and healthy.
In the UK, Dairy Lee's prepackaged snacks come in 3 main varieties.
Harry, I thought we were comparing Lunchables.
Unfortunately not. They're actually no longer called Lunchables in the UK. Mondelez rebranded them to Lunches in 2023 in an effort to align them with the rest of their products. The products are Dunkers, Snackers, and of course, Lunches. The sizes differ slightly depending on which fillings you get. It's strange to me that there is some overlap in the sizes between Snackers and Lunches. Lunch to me should be more of a substantial meal, whereas a snack is a snack. So for me, it's odd that some of the Snackers are just as big as the Lunches.
Well, our Lunchables come in a variety of sizes. Down here we have the small snack kit, aka Dunkables. Moving on, we have the snack kit, the classic. In the middle here we have the Lunchable crispy grilled cheesies. Just kidding, not available in this part of the country, but they appear to be frozen grilled cheese sandwiches. Moving on, we have the lunch meal kit. And down here at the end, the biggest portion size, I guess, is the Lunchables uploaded. Look at this thing. You got the sub sandwich, you got chips, Hershey Kisses. Now the product weights vary slightly depending on your choice of snack. For example, the ham and American cheese cracker lunch snack kit weighs 3.2 ounces, while this one that looks to be the same size, the nacho cheese dip and salsa lunch, weighs more, 4.4 ounces.
There's some variants in the UK too. For example, the chicken and cheese lunches weigh 68 grams, while the ham and cheese weighs 74. Since our lunches are slightly smaller, the other thing I wanted to check was exactly how much of each ingredient we're getting. Here is a box of UK ham and cheese lunches. Man, I have not opened a packet of lunches or Lunchables for about 10 years. No, longer than that. I always forget how old I am.
Here's a US ham and cheese Lunchable box. We are going to lay it out for you right now. That's all right. But the question is the weight. How much do we actually get here in the US? First thing I'm gonna do is weigh the ham.
A little bit more cheese. About 26 grams of cheese.
All right, now the crackers. Certainly the crackers weigh even less, right? What about the largest multi-pack size? In the US, we have the ham and cheddar cheese and turkey and American cheese cracker stackers snack kit variety pack. Where is it? I'll tell you where it is. Sam's Club, where I am nowhere near one currently. Couldn't get it. It contains 3 ham and cheddar snack kits and 3 turkey and American cheese snack kits for a total of 19.2 ounces of Lunchables.
When it comes to lunches, they're typically just sold individually in the UK, although I was able to find a 12-pack on a wholesale website. I think these are more marketed at shops rather than individuals or families, but if you've got a lot of kids to feed, then could be your option. The 12-pack of these would be 888 grams or 31.3 ounces of Lunchables. That does make it bigger than the US's largest size, but who's got the most options?
Here are all the Lunchables in the US you won't find in the UK.
Here are all the Dairy Lee and Lunches products from the UK that you won't have in the US.
We have a ton of options in the US, so we're going to break them down into categories. Let's start with the classic cracker stacker range. We have just about all of them. Ham and American cheese, ham and cheddar cheese, ham and Swiss, light bologna and American, Turkey and American, turkey and cheddar. The only one we couldn't get were the mozzarella and pepperoni cracker stackers. Ham and American also comes with a chocolate cream cookie, also known as an Oreo. I mean, look at this though, like the ham has like perfect coverage. The cheese is square, not circle, don't know why. Breaking news, everybody. I've never had a Lunchable before. And I could demolish all these. I could demolish this and then have a lunch. If I were to get a Lunchable, I probably would pick the ham and American cheese, but also ham and cheddar. What do we think? How strong is this cheddar gonna be, right? I'm not tasting a difference. Let's go straight cheese. I mean, I do in theory taste a difference, but it's so subtle. Ham and Swiss, not a big Swiss guy. I'm not tasting any difference. Also, I want to point out, Swiss has holes in it, doesn't it? Where are the holes? Moving on. Bologna, light bologna. I don't know why light. Do you think they're getting ahead of the fact that people kind of consider bologna to be unhealthy or fattier? I don't know anything about bologna. Okay, bologna. We love it, right? What cheese is this? American? Doesn't matter. Okay. Yeah. I'm telling you, man. We got bologna, we got cheese, we got crackers. Lunchables just set a generation up to be obsessed with charcuterie when we got older. Now we move on to the turkey section of the video. I'm curious. Yes, they're different, but could you tell? Like if I like, which is which? But minuscule difference. Okay, turkey and cheddar, I guess we can just look. Oh God, my fingers are all slimy from the sweat of this produced meat. There's a block of cheese for you right there. I mean, this is me if I was a kid. I would be like, this is what I would do. I would just like stack it up. Yeah, maybe don't do that.
The British equivalent of the US Cracker Stackers is just our Lunches range. We actually only have 2 of these in the UK. Lunches Ham and Cheese and Lunches Chicken and Cheese. Here we have the pre-dissected ham and cheese ones. One thing I did want to do is figure out what the cheese was. It's very pale in color. On the picture, it kind of looks like cheddar, but in real life, it's got that kind of plasticky quality that you wouldn't normally find from UK cheddar. There is like a semblance of cheddar cheese there, at least in the flavor. But yeah, the texture of this, like cheddar cheese is not a rubbery cheese normally. This very much is rubbery. The amount of fold you can get on that without it breaking is quite impressive / concerning. What was the best way to eat these? I think I used to make sandwiches back in the day. Cracker, cheese, ham, cheese, cracker situation. Honestly, like not that bad. The cheese is on the rubberier side, as is the ham. Tastes pretty good. The crackers are pretty good, whole grain in there.
We got pizza Lunchables. I can't believe these are only exclusives to the US. These were seemingly so popular and, dare I say, polarizing. From what I read online, people either loved them or hated them. From what I can tell, because I've never had this, it's a cold pizza kit. On looks alone, this looks like a nightmare. In the pizza one, we have the extra cheesy pizza snack kit and the pizza with pepperoni snack kit. I'm going in on the pepperoni. You know it. No. Wait a second. Wait. Oh, God, I hate this so much. All right, so I got 3 of these. Surely you're kidding. Surely you jest with this. Is this what I'm doing? I have to say, though, man, they were stingy with the cheese. Whoa. What's the kid that has this for lunch at school? What do we think? Was this like popular kids had this? The weirdos? The one that clearly mom and dad weren't paying too close attention to him or her? Here's your lunch. Here's your child's lunch. Nope. No. Not tasting a lot of cheese, and oddly enough, I really don't taste any of the pepperoni either. I feel like if I was a kid, I'd really want this, and then I'd have it and be like, wait, this sucks. I feel like this would be like my first brush with like disappointment.
We actually used to have pizza Lunchables in the UK, but they seem to have been cut as part of Mondelez's rebrand, which is pretty sad. In addition to the Lunches range, in the UK you will also find Snackers. We have 3 options when it comes to Snackers. We have Snackers with mini Cadbury fingers, Snackers with mini Oreos, and Snackers with Cadbury Giant Buttons. The main difference between the two is that the Lunches contain a meat option, either ham or chicken, whereas these just contain the crackers, the cheese, and then a sweet snack. The snack options included in these reflect the fact that Dairy Lee is owned by Mondelez, which is a big conglomerate which also owns Cadbury and Oreo. Which one do I want to try? Try the Oreos? Whoop. Do you get like the same amount of cheese and stuff in here as you do in the other ones? I think you might do. 9 crackers in this one. Slightly more crackers than you get in a Luncher. I do love the mini Oreos though. Look how cute these are. Teeny tiny. I do like that they have Cadbury products though. That does feel like a way to make them a bit more British. Cadbury fingers, classic UK snack. Same with Cadbury buttons as well.
Check this out, slide it. Bam! You know what this is, huh? I'm in Southern California, so you know we got the nachos, baby. The nachos, cheese, and salsa snack kit. I wonder. Tortilla chips, Kraft nacho cheese, salsa. I don't know if you're aware of this, but Lunchables are owned by Kraft Heinz in the US, which explains why they're using Kraft cheese. The chips are too small. They could have gone twice the size of this, guys. This small? How am I gonna dip with this? Guys. Let's get that Kraft cheese. Again, not heated up. It's that thing that I've been noticing a lot of Lunchables, the stuff that you normally eat hot. Finally, cold nachos. That's actually pretty good cheese. That's good. They went for the good stuff, the Kraft. Let's go. How's the salsa? This is good. I like this a lot. This is actually pretty good. I'm surprised. I'd be stoked to have this as I was a kid. Got stoked to have as an adult.
Joe, you're always criticizing UK nachos whenever we do one of these episodes, and then you go and do that to nachos. I just feel like there's a lot of hypocrisy there.
Even our phoned-in nachos are better than UK nachos. How hilarious is that? We got nachos locked down in the USA, baby. More proof. There you go. Love it.
Dairy Lee Dunkers are an iconic UK snack food, possibly even more iconic than Lunchables or Lunches in the UK. In my school pack lunches, I was much more likely to get a sandwich and then some Dunkers as a snack versus maybe some Lunches as my entire packed lunch. So in these pots, you get a small pot of Dairy Lee cheese dip, accompanied by some snacks which you dunk into the cheese. The snack options come in 4 varieties. Here I have the Dairy Lee Jumbo Tubes. These are hollow. Land ahoy. You can also get Dunkers with Ritz crackers, with nachos, and breadsticks. These peel like so easily. Bang, off like that.
All right. Open up.
I do have to give special praise to the Jumbo Tubes because these are absolutely delicious. I'm not alone in thinking this either. I've seen tons of Brits claiming that these are amazing. I see a lot of tweets petitioning Dairy Lee to release them as crisps, which honestly I think is a genius idea. On the packaging, they're just described as corn and potato snacks, and the only flavorings listed are things like parsley, garlic powder, rosemary, and even some horseradish. The result is a crunchy but slightly airy, crisp snack that tastes kind of like sour cream and chive. These combined with the Dairy Lee soft cheese, just fantastic. I don't know what it is, but great. If there's like one bite that symbolizes nostalgia, that might be it. Ritz is another brand that's owned by Mondelez, so they're kind of just juicing their own sales by combining all of their products, which honestly, I respect.
Another US snack you can't get in the UK are chicken nuggets. Now, confusingly, they refer to these chicken nuggets as chicken dunks. If you take literally 1 second to look at the packaging, if I've ever seen a nugget, it is this. Lunch is served. Okay. First thing I'm glad to see, full-size Capri Sun. There you go. Now, this is a little sad. There's not a lot here. Dipping.
These are very suspicious.
Technically, yes. This is chicken, but look at this, people. Look, oh my God, it's like a pencil eraser, right? Look at this. But let's go, baby. Capri Sun, that's a good deal.
Oh yeah, it's got really strong flavor. It's like medicinal. It's like really strong flavor.
Beyond the range of Lunches, Snackers, and Dunkers, Dairy Lee does sell some other prepackaged goods in the UK. Firstly, we have these Dairy Lee filled crackers. I've never had one of these before. I think they're relatively new. I do not remember seeing them as a kid. It looks like it's the same cracker material that you would find in the Lunches, but rectangular rather than circle. And then you have a layer of Dairy Lee cheese running through the middle. Reasonably generous with the Dairy Lee. The cheese that they've used here looks even more solid and congealed than the normal Dairy Lee, which is already quite emulsified. Pretty tasty, not that bad. The crackers have like a really savory flavor to them. Moving on from the filled crackers, Dairy Lee in the UK also does strip cheese. That's the actual name they decided on. I'm not doing a joke, that's actually what they're called. The issue is in the UK, when it comes to cheese in stick form, we have cheese strings, which are very iconic and have the market in a bit of a chokehold. The cheese is reminiscent more of a Dairy Lee cheese rather than a cheese string, which is a lot more orange. The thing with cheese strings is that they were tubular and you could kind of peel them at any angle and get nice little, very thin strips out of them. Whereas this is more like, you can kind of see that they've just been cut in half. I'm not convinced. And then within that, you can't peel it. Half the fun for me was like seeing how thinly I could peel a cheese string. Did it taste good? They also just don't really taste of anything. Again, like cheese strings have a very distinct flavor. They do have a cheesiness to them. Whereas these are just kind of like thin strips of not very much. I'm glad I was a cheese string household. One thing that is actually pretty iconic are the Dairy Lee triangles. Cheese triangles are another staple in, I'd say, UK kids' lunchboxes. You get these little individual foil-wrapped cheese triangles. While cheese strings kind of had the market on strip cheese cornered, I do think Dairy Lee actually had a claim to cheese triangles. The most iconic UK brands for these, I would say, are Dairy Lee and maybe Laughing Cow in terms of the triangles. It is what it says on the tin. It is a triangle of Dairy Lee cheese. Very soft, but tasty. One thing that I'm impressed by with Dairy Lee is how they've effectively taken the same cheese and turned it into a bunch of different products with slightly different consistencies. Because moving on from the cheese triangles, we also have Dairy Lee cheese spread. So Dairy Lee cheese spread is effectively the same as what you get in the Dunkers. And then finally, we have two versions of cheese slices. We have a regular version and a light version. The light version claims to have 40% less fat compared to the regular version. So these are effectively just American cheese slices, but made of Dairy Lee. It is tasty. It was a part of my childhood. I'm sure it's a part of a lot of Brits' childhoods. And from what I've tasted today, like it's generally held up. It's not one of those things that tastes completely different now as it did when I was a kid.
Now's the time we talk about the Lunchables Uploaded. These came out a while ago and are clearly aimed at teens. To that end, the branding is sort of a gamer themed and is more substantial than the classic meal kits. I'll say these got some heft to them. All right, this makes sense. Okay. Oh wow! Oh no! You still got to build it, which I guess makes sense. Plastic on plastic on plastic. Here's everything. You got the meat and cheese, you got your sub roll, you got your mayo, Pringle chips, 2 Hershey Kisses, and this, I was wondering, I was like, does this have 2 drinks? But no, it's Kool-Aid powder in the water. Actually, this is pretty smart. You guys want to make a sandwich? All right, first of all, I'm gonna open this up. I'm surprised by like how little they're giving us. Look at how thick the bread is. Man, they still went with this size cheese though. Still went with... What cool teenager gets to make this in the cafeteria at high school? It just seems like a really basic sandwich. I think I figured out why this doesn't work. Because the idea with Lunchables is you kind of like put your meal together, like play with it. Like it's easy, conveniently packaged, so you can just take it and go. And a regular Lunchable would cut out the time it takes to make a sandwich, right? But with these, you're just prolonging the sandwich making experience until later. It's the idea of like, I don't have enough time in the morning to make a sandwich, so I got this box. But then you get where you're going, and you got to make the sandwich there. It's not saving any time. Does that make sense?
Saving the parents' time.
Oh no. Here, you make it. Pringles, okay. I mean, I like Pringles. Yeah, all right. Yeah. I'd be more stoked for the snack, for the chips, honestly. And then, kiddos, you can have yourself some ready-to-go Kool-Aid. What is the job I have? Kool-Aid is so good. If you're watching in the UK and you don't recognize this color, it's because it is banned in your country, probably. It's called Red 40, and if you're wondering why I'm the way I am, hey, here's why. Somehow, the regular pizza Lunchables are so popular that they were afraid they were losing their audience. They were getting too old. They were growing up. They decided to make a version of pizza for the teens. Hello, fellow teens. Here's the thing you totally want. Sincerely, another teenager. Deep dish pizza with pepperoni. Oh, God. Oh, God. No, this again. Look at this. Look at, like, it's recessed in there or whatever. Yeah, a little Chi-Town deep dish over here, right? Oh, God. Am I supposed to use all this sauce? I don't know. If I was a boy and I saw a kid eating this, I'd be like, he suffered enough. Here we go. The sauce is sweet and gross, and the bread, though, is very strange. The pizza dough, I guess we could still call it a dough, cake-like, but not sweet, but really, like, would fall apart. Moving on. All right, do like gummy worms, love Cheez-Its, so if this was my lunch, I'd just be working on these. And once again, I don't have a tropical punch, but this is good. I like this. You know what? I would say if you're eating this, maybe like save the Kool-Aid and just have water, because that sounds really nice right about now.
Let's compare the ingredients of Lunches and Lunchables.
Here's a U.S. ham and cheddar cracker stacker Lunchable kit. And here's everything that goes into it. That's a total of 41 ingredients.
Here's everything in a packet of ham and cheese lunches in the UK. That's a total of 33 ingredients, which is actually 8 fewer than the US equivalent.
The U.S. colors its cheese with both annetto and oleoresin paprika, 2 natural food dyes. How does our cheese compare to yours, Harry? The U.S. ham also uses an artificial smoke flavor where the U.K. does not. And the U.S. crackers also contain palm oil, the overproduction of which has been blamed for deforestation around the world. You may have seen some alarming headlines concerning the presence of lead in Lunchables. Testing by Consumer Reports found lead in several popular lunch kit brands, including Lunchables. Wow, I wish I read that before we started shooting this. The turkey and cheddar cheese stackers, I ate those. The pizza pepperoni, definitely had those. And the extra cheesy pizza Lunchables, phew, skip that, all contain roughly 70% of the maximum allowable dose of lead set out by the California Proposition 65 list of chemicals known to cause cancer or birth defects or other reproductive harm. 70%, why is it more than zero? So should we be freaking out and banning Lunchables from school cafeterias? Should banning this for food wars? I can't believe how much I just ate.
The short answer might surprise you. Probably not. That's due to a few reasons. Firstly, lead is found in a lot of the food and drink we consume. It's a naturally occurring metal in the Earth's crust, meaning that trace amounts of it end up in our soil, water, and even air. Even the FDA acknowledges that it's not possible to completely prevent lead from entering the food supply.
It's also worth pointing out that the Proposition 65 limits that Consumer Reports based its testing on are extremely strict. Some say not strict enough. The law was brought in the 80s and forces businesses to disclose whether their products contain just 1,000th of the already established safe level. For lead, Proposition 65 limits it to 0.5 micrograms a day. A microgram is 1/1,000,000th of a gram. Fine. It's still more than I would like to be eating. Slate reported that the figure is based on OSHA's reporting from the 80s concerning workers breathing in fumes containing lead every day. Okay, good.
If the US turkey and cheddar Stackers Lunchables contain 74% of California's maximum allowable dose of lead, that means they contain 0.000000037 grams of it. That's an incredibly small amount, comparable to what you might find in fresh celery.
Lunchables might not be the epitome of health food, but at least where heavy metals are concerned, you probably don't need to worry for right now. Here's everything in a U.S. Lunchable ham and cheddar cheese with crackers snack kit.
Here's everything in a pack of UK ham and cheese lunches.
That places the U.S. Lunchables above the U.K. in every stat, but keep in mind, our box is about 15 grams larger than the UK's, which accounts for some of the smaller differences.
What that doesn't fully account for is the almost doubled sodium content as well as the more than doubled sugar content.
The highest calorie Lunchable product in the US is the crispy grilled cheesies pepperoni. The serving size is the whole box or 2 sandwiches and contains 600 calories. It also adds up to 58% of your daily recommended sodium intake and 55% of your recommended daily saturated fat.
The UK's highest calorie product is the Snackers cheese and crackers with Cadbury mini fingers. One of these contains 272 calories, although that's still less than half of the US pepperoni grilled cheese.
One thing that we thought would be interesting to point out is the protein content of Lunchables. At the start of 2023 school year, Kraft Heinz rolled out Lunchables into schools across the US, either for purchase by students or free via the National School Lunch Program. There are 2 products available, the Lunchables Extra Cheesy Pizza and the Lunchables Turkey and Cheddar Cracker Stackers. This one says American. I know I demolished the cheddar one. I apologize. However, they are not these, the ones you get in the store. Why is that, you ask? I'll tell you. In order to meet nutritional requirements for the NSLP, they actually had to change the recipe of the school Lunchables for improved nutrition. According to Kraft Heinz, this includes lowering the saturated fat content, increasing the protein, and adding whole grains to its crackers. So if you don't understand what I mean, these ones you buy in the store for your kids, by school standards, aren't healthy enough. They had to do other Lunchables that are, I guess, legal to be sold in American schools. One would think, why not just make those the default? I don't know either. However, increasing the protein content also led to increasing the sodium content as much as 25%. Yo! That's a salty Lunchable. In the US, a Lunchable ham and cheese cracker stacker costs $1.96. What? It's that cheap? Wow.
A box of ham and cheese lunches in the UK costs £1.60. With exchange rates at the time of recording this, that was $2.02, meaning that ours are slightly more expensive than the Americans.
It's also worth noting the weight of the 2 products. The US kit is 3.5 ounces or 99 grams, and that is bigger than the UK kit, which comes in at 74 grams. Not only are our Lunchables cheaper, but we're getting more for our money too. The UK is paying 35% more per gram. How are you not outraged?
Lunches are relatively cheap, however I don't think one of these boxes constitutes a full lunch. Parents would likely still have to provide their kid with a drink and some additional snacks in order to really fill out a lunchbox. When it comes to lunch, many Brits love meal deals. Most supermarket chains will offer a combination of a sandwich, a snack and a drink in the region of £3.50 to £4. Here's a typical Tesco lunch meal deal selection. We have a chicken, bacon and stuffing sandwich, some salt and vinegar McCoy's crisps, and an innocent smoothie. With a club card, this cost me £3.40, which is just over double the price of some lunches. This meal deal comes to a total of 847 calories. So for roughly double the price of lunches, you're getting quadruple the calories. A meal deal also more closely resembles a balanced lunch when compared to a box of crackers, cheese and ham. So while they might seem like a cheap lunch option for parents, they actually might not represent the best value.
There's no denying that Lunchables are popular in the US. In 2022, they generated $1.8 billion in sales for Kraft Heinz. Good Lord. And they're like $1.60 a piece. That's $1 billion Lunchables. Now they've been added to school cafeteria lineups across the country, that popularity is likely to continue to rise.
Dairy products are undoubtedly popular in the UK. They claim to have 91% brand awareness, and the snacking cheese portion of their business added £56 million between 2022 and 2023. The UK is obviously a smaller market when compared to the US, but that number is nowhere near as impressive when compared to the US profit figure. Particularly when it comes to lunches and snackers, I don't think they have the same level of popularity as the US Lunchables seem to. Dunkers and maybe the cheese triangles reign supreme over here, but they're more of an addition to a lunchbox rather than the focus of the lunchbox itself. The struggle with these in school was always trying to pace yourself so that you didn't use too much of the cheese as you were going through and then end up with like just the dry crisps at the end. If you nailed it, then you would have a kind of even cheese to snack ratio throughout. Sometimes you'd go a bit heavy at the start and then have to really scale back on the amount of cheese that you were having. Or sometimes you'd have all the cheese too early and then be left with none at the end. Hey.
Hi.
Welcome to the Food Wars Season 1 Marathon, where we compared some of the biggest differences in UK and US fast food.
We've compiled every episode from Season 1 into one convenient bundle for your viewing pleasure.
But stick around for some behind-the-scenes info from myself and from Joe to show you how we brought the show to life. From calorie count to portion sizes, we wanted to find out the biggest differences between UK and US McDonald's. So the McDonald's episode is where Food Wars all began. Joe, did you have any problems filming this episode?
Yeah, I had to go back and forth to McDonald's 3 times to get everything, and they still didn't have the McNuggets boxes that we wanted.
This is what a small drink looks like in the UK.
This is a US small.
This is what a medium drink looks like.
This is a US medium.
And this is a large.
And this is a US large.
So with our McNuggets in the UK, the default adult sizes on the menu are a box of 6, a box of 9, or a share box of 20.
Nuggets. You can get a box of 4, or you can get a 6-piece, or 10, 20 for sharing, or 40. And according to the 3 McDonald's in the area, they don't have 20 or 40 boxes. They just do them in increments of 10. But this is on the menu.
In the UK, we've got 3 sizes of fries. These are our small fries in the paper bag.
Here is the small fry.
These are our medium fries in the iconic carton.
Here is the medium fry.
And then these are our large fries.
And here is the large fry.
So we couldn't find an exact weight measurement for the fries online, so what we're going to do is weigh them ourselves. Just out of curiosity, I'm going to bring our trusty friend, the scales, back, and we're going to weigh the Big Mac and see if there is any difference in size. Not sure there will be, but let's find out.
Hang on.
So while McDonald's fries might look and taste pretty similar in the UK and the US, in the UK we only have 3 ingredients, which is oil, salt, and potatoes.
The McDonald's French fries in America have way more ingredients. These fries are made from potatoes, obviously, a vegetable oil, which is canola oil, corn oil, soybean oil, hydrogenated, thank you. Hydrogenated soybean oil, natural beef flavor, dextrose, sodium, acid pyrophosphate, sodium, acid pyrophosphate, which is used to maintain the color. Are they that much of a different color than the ones in the UK? Is it worth it? Can we get a side-by-side comparison? Are they that much more bright yellow? We need to put sodium acid pyrophosphate or whatever it's called in it. Salt. And I should mention that a natural beef flavor contains hydrolyzed wheat and hydrolyzed milk as a starting ingredient. And of course, I have no idea what that means.
So the biggest calorie difference in a Big Mac actually comes from the sauce. In the US, they've got about 40 more calories than we do in the UK. We're not sure if this is because there's more sauce or because of the ingredients list. In the UK, it's just a little bit more simple.
Our sauce is made of soybean oil, sweet relish, which is made of diced pickles, sugar, high fructose corn syrup, distilled vinegar, salt, corn syrup, all right, two types of corn syrup, xanthan gum, hang on, calcium chloride, spice extractives, water, I've heard of that, egg yolks, distilled vinegar, spices, onion powder, salt, propylene glycol alginate, garlic powder, vegetable protein, which has hydrolyzed corn, soy, and wheat, sugar, caramel color, turmeric, extractives of paprika, and of course, soy lecithin. I don't know which one it is.
So if you are trying to eat healthily at McDonald's, it might actually be the drinks that you have to look out for.
That's nothing, guys. Our chocolate shake, 840 calories. That's as many calories as 2 cheeseburgers and 1 hamburger.
So what does that all mean? If you were to walk into a UK McDonald's and order yourself a large Big Mac meal with a milkshake, it would be around 1,400 calories.
And if you were to get the large Big Mac meal with the chocolate shake in America, the total here is 1,870 calories. So that's 1,870 calories. The daily calorie allowance for an American dude is 2,500. Okay, so you have 630 left. One McNugget is 55 calories, right? So you could also have 11 more nuggets, and there you go. That's all you need for the day.
Here's everything you can only get at a UK McDonald's. So here we've got the Veggie Deluxe Burger, which is a veggie burger that's served with some mayo and some lettuce. Here we've got a Chicken Legend, which is a chicken burger, again, served with mayo and lettuce.
Chicken Legend, I don't even know what that is. Not gonna catch on. That can stay in the UK.
We have a range of wraps that you can get in the UK. We have a wrap of the day. Here we've got the fajita crisp, which is some chicken, along with some veg and some spicy fajita sauce. Here we've got some veggie dippers. These were actually introduced as part of Veganuary in 2020 in the UK, but they've stuck on the menu. So these are Vegan Society approved, and they're sort of like a fried bean patty sort of thing.
Like, pick a more unappetizing thing to get at McDonald's. Veggie dippers.
And then finally we've got some mozzarella dippers, which are just kind of mozzarella sticks really.
Well, sucks to be in the UK, because everything you see right here is USA only, baby. Haha! USA only! So I'm going to talk about the coffee drinks real fast. Here in the US, we have all the same coffee drinks they do in the UK, but every coffee drink has an iced version and also a caramel and or French vanilla and or mocha version, depending on what you're getting. So we in the US, of course, have more variety. Shamrock Shake. The Shamrock Shake is it's like vanilla and mint shake. Strawberry sundae. This has recently been discontinued in the UK. Sorry guys. Still got it in the US. My favorite as a kid. Caramel sundae. Fruit and yogurt parfait. Maybe it's healthy, I have no idea. Probably not. Those were the cold items I wanted to get out of the way as they slowly melt under these lights. Got a lot more to go through. Harry, bear with me here, buddy. Buttermilk, crispy chicken sandwich. Yo, I think this was introduced when the chicken sandwich wars were really heating up when Chick-fil-A started taking over. Let's see what's under the hood. Look at that. Look at this. Yeah. Quarter pounder with cheese, deluxe. This is your fancy quarter pounder with cheese. This is for Sunday dinner. When you have company over. There's so much. Sausage breakfast burrito. Even after it's, for a while, it's like still like glowing yellow. Now these are the buttermilk crispy chicken tenders. These smell amazing. I want to just bite into these so bad. I just take a big bite. I want to talk about sauces real quick. Okay, I'm at McDonald's and I go, give me one of everything. I've heard from Harry and the team over at the UK that some of these I don't have, including sweet and sour, honey mustard. What else don't you guys have? I don't think you guys have ranch either, or buffalo. I gotta say though, the sauces are everything.
We've got a couple of sauces that are kind of unique to the UK as well. We've got a sweet curry dipping sauce. And then we've also got a salsa dip as well, which I didn't know existed until today.
Oh yes, donut sticks. These donut sticks also come with a chocolate dipping sauce. Another thing I'm certain they don't have in the UK. Yo! Breakfast is served! Look at this. Oh yeah. Who's ready to start the day? It's McGriddle talk. So for those of you in the UK who don't know what a McGriddle is, the United States McDonald's had this genius idea. What if we took breakfast sandwiches, replaced the buns, and made them pancakes? And somehow injected some sort of syrup flavor into the pancakes. And the McGriddle was born, and I have to say, they're fantastic. This one right here, the bacon, egg, and cheese McGriddle. This is the sausage. Yeah? Hi. Hey. Hey. This is the sausage, egg, and cheese McGriddle. American food engineering at its finest. Look at that. In the UK, you guys call biscuits cookies. Here, no. So in the UK, biscuits are cookies, or what we call cookies. In the US, biscuits are what we call, I don't know what else you can call them. Like, you bake them and they're from the South and they're dry and I don't know what they are. Much like the McGriddles, we have a version of every breakfast sandwich that instead of the regular bun bread, it's biscuits. Not the cookie biscuits like you guys have, these biscuits.
Joe, you were so close on the whole cookie biscuit thing. What you guys call biscuits, we would actually kind of call scones, or scones, depending on where you're from. And the thought of putting breakfast food in between them is kind of weird. They're usually reserved for cream and jam for an afternoon tea.
Last, and in my opinion, least, is this thing, the Southwest grilled chicken salad. Yeah. Oh.
But can I eat now? Yeah, yeah. Cool. I don't care how many calories. It's just really good. From calorie count to portion sizes, we wanted to find out the difference between a US and a UK KFC. This is Food Wars.
I had KFC leftovers for days. I ended up giving some of it away to my neighbors in my building.
Yeah, I was the same. I took like 3 buckets of chicken home for myself and my roommates. I even kind of made a pot pie, which you guys had on the menu and we didn't.
Sorry, you made a pot pie out of KFC leftovers?
Just took the KFC chicken, took the skin off it, put it in a pot with some soup, some vegetables, and then a pastry on top, and it was pretty good. Now, you can't actually get a small drink at a UK KFC. It starts at regular. This is what a regular drink looks like.
This is what a US regular looks like.
And this is what a large drink looks like.
And this is what a US large looks like.
This is a regular fries, and this is a large fries.
Here's the US regular, right? You want to go the next size up. This is the US large. Gosh, look at how big that is. It's like 5 of those ones that he had.
Let's find out how much a large fries weighs in the UK.
Let's weigh our large fry. Oh man. Oh, they're packed in there, dude. Look at that. Is that everything?
This is what a regular popcorn chicken looks like.
We have a large popcorn chicken.
And this is what a large popcorn chicken looks like.
And if you want to go even larger than the large, get yourself popcorn chicken box. Something for you and your buddies, I'm sure. Not eating this by yourself. Did I lose any? No? No way. Am I doing this without... Oh, don't jinx it. Oh! Yep. Yep. And, yep. Is that all of them?
In the UK, you can get buckets in 3 sizes. You can get a 6-piece. You can get a 10-piece. Or you can get a 14-piece.
Eight-piece. Whoa! 12-piece. This is, I can't even dump it. Yo! Look how much chicken this is. Oh my God, what a mess.
Unfortunately, KFC in the UK doesn't disclose its ingredients, but what we do know is calories. For example, in the UK, a drum is 170 calories.
And in the US, one of these guys for the original recipe is 130 calories. But if you get extra crispy, like this guy right here, it's actually 170.
USA is actually still winning on calories. That's largely thanks to the sides and the drinks. If you were to walk into a UK KFC and order a 3-piece meal and they gave you a drum, a thigh, and a wing with a large fries and a large Pepsi, that would come to 1,155 calories.
Our large fry is 930 calories, and our large drink is 380. And if you were to order a 3-piece with a large fry and a large drink in the US, it would be roughly this many calories. The KFC in the US has released its ingredients list. I would like to go over the ingredients of the French fries at the KFC in the US. All right, here we go. Sea salt, monosodium glutamate, maltodextrin, salt, dextrose, vegetable powders, tricalcium phosphate, hydrolyzed soy proteins, spices, soybean oil, natural flavors, potassium chloride, paprika extract, color, turmeric extract, color, potatoes, obviously, vegetable oil. It has soybean oil, canola, cottonseed, and or sunflower. Bleached wheat flour, and it contains 2% or less of rice flour, durum wheat, semolina, durum wheat, semolina. I don't know what that word is. It looks like it's easy, but it's hard to say. Semolina, durum wheat, semolina. There you go. Dextrin, salt, degermed yellow cornmeal. Oh, thank God it's been degermed. Cornstarch, leavings, sodium acid pyrophosphate, sodium bicarbonate, dextrose, again, xanthan gum, there he is, annatto extract color, disodium dihydrogen pyrophosphate, in parentheses, to maintain color. Okay. We add so many chemicals to our fries, we add more chemicals to make it look like it doesn't have any chemicals. Thank you, disodium what the f***? Yeah, whatever.
Here are some things you can only find on the menu at a UK KFC. So instead of a chicken sandwich, what we call ours is the chicken fillet burger. I think it's pretty much the same thing. It's like breaded and fried chicken between 2 buns with some lettuce and some mayonnaise. We also have something called the Zinger burger, which is pretty much the same thing, but the spice level is amped up a little bit. You can also turn these burgers into a tower burger. What that does is adds cheese and a hash brown to the burger, which in my opinion, very worthwhile addition.
We have some stuff on our KFC they can't get in the UK, and surprisingly some things I thought were kind of paramount to the KFC menu. Mashed potatoes and gravy. This to me seems like something that has just always been part of KFC along with the chicken. Look at his mashed potatoes, man. It's a tub of mashed potatoes. Okay, let's make a mess. Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. Put that on the cover of Gravy Aficionado magazine. Another thing I didn't realize you guys don't have, biscuits, or as you call them, scones. This is called the Famous Bowl. It is mashed potatoes and gravy and corn, topped with popcorn chicken, topped with cheese, all in one bowl. Yeah, this thing, I don't think I've ever had one of these because it looks ridiculous.
Now Joe, I'm glad you also think that the Famous Bowl doesn't look that great, because to me that looks like a nightmare. Now we have a slightly different approach to sides in the UK compared to the US. For example, our corn comes on the cob, baked beans. These are slightly different to the regular beans that you might put on toast in the UK. They have kind of a barbecue sauce flavor to them. There's a few other language differences, like instead of chicken tenders, we call ours chicken mini fillets.
Mini fillets, chicken tenders, they look exactly the same. We got those. Yes, they have corn, but we have ours off the cob, which I think is not as good as on the cob. This pile right here, and I know, they do have wings at KFC in the UK, yes I know, but only in the US can you order them by 48. 48 wings. I'm dying right now, man. These smell so good. The pot pie, when I saw pot pie in the menu, I was like, yeah, a little side pot pie. No, dude, this thing, it's like a puppy. This thing has kind of got some weight to it.
I've got to say, the pot pie actually looks quite good. We love meat pies here in the UK. You'll often see people tucking into like a steak and kidney pie or a chicken pie, but yeah, they should probably put that on the menu over here. I think they'd cash in on the British market.
Let's talk sauces. It's sauce talk.
Sauce talk.
I think that these sauces are also specific only to the US and not the UK. The KFC finger looking good sauce. See that? We also have the summertime barbecue sauce, honey mustard, and of course, buttermilk ranch.
There are a few sauces which are exclusive to the UK. For example, we have this spicy supercharger dip. which is kind of like a spicy mayo type thing. We have some sweet chili sauce, garlic mayonnaise, another really good option. Garlic mayo on chips is just fantastic.
Why don't we have those sauces here? Oh man, I want those.
Now usually we'd have even more exclusive menu items to show you, but unfortunately UK KFCs are currently operating with a reduced menu. Here's what you could normally find on the menu at a UK KFC. A vegan burger, the Big Daddy burger, a range of chicken wraps, some rice boxes, onion rings, curry sauce, crush'ems, and a full range of hot drinks, including English breakfast tea.
At the UK, you can get teas, including English breakfast tea. Now, technically, you can't get tea at the KFCs in the US, but you can get something called Mountain Dew Sweet Lightning, which I think is probably pretty close.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly the same as a breakfast tea. From calorie count to portion sizes, we wanted to find out all the differences between Domino's Pizza in the UK and the US. This is Food Wars. This might actually have been my favourite episode to shoot. What about you, Joe?
Same. I love shooting this episode.
I just thought some of the visuals were really cool, particularly the bird's eye view. We actually had our camera person Charlie shooting that one, and he was just standing on a table getting some stuff by hand. It wasn't the most professional setup, but I think it got the job done.
This was also the first USA only exclusive and arguably the worst. I could give a TED talk on how much I hate banana peppers.
This is the smallest pizza you can get in the UK. It's called an individual, and it measures 7 inches across.
Our smallest is, believe it or not, the small. Here it is, and it measures in diameter 10 inches.
The next size up is a small, which measures 9.5 inches.
Next size up for the US is our medium, which is 12 inches.
This is 11.5 inches.
Well, I'm starving. Hey, I grabbed this slice. I'm starving. This pizza smells so good. I skipped breakfast. Next pizza. Next up for the US is our large, which is a 14-inch diameter. Oh, hell yeah. What's with the way they cut your large pizza, Harry? It's ridiculous. Look at that. And not to be outdone, the US has one more size, the extra large, diameter 16 inches. Bro, look at the size of this thing.
Now a 2.5 inch difference might not sound like a lot, but if you factor that into the surface area, it's actually 58 square inches wider than the UK's largest pizza, which is almost a third of an increase.
Am I looking at this right? Is it supposed to be 6 slices? It's 6 slices. That can't be right. 6 slices for an extra large pizza? Look at the size of these slices. In the US, at a Domino's, the extra large pizza will cost you a very reasonable $13.99. That is 201 square inches, which breaks down to roughly 7 cents an inch. Nice.
Now shockingly, $13.99 will only get you a small pizza in the UK. A small pizza is 9.5 inches across, and that gives it a surface area of 71 square inches. Now if you divide the $13.69 price tag by the 71, you find out that you're actually paying 19 cents per square inch. Ultimately, it means that if you went into a US and a UK Domino's with $13.99 to spend, you'd be able to get more than double the pizza for your money in the US store. Let's compare large cheese pizzas in the two countries. This is what a UK large cheese looks like.
And this is what a large, properly cut Domino's cheese pizza looks like in the US.
It's cut into 10 pieces, and each slice contains 176 calories. That means that in total, the pizza in the UK is 1,760 calories.
Instead of 10, we got 8 slices. That means each slice is roughly 280 calories, which makes the whole pizza 2,240 calories. And according to the thing that was written for me, that is almost 480 calories more than the UK large.
But why is that exactly? Let's see if we can get any clues from the ingredients. Let's start with the foundation of any pizza, which is the dough. In the UK, the dough is made of wheat flour, a wheat and milk premix, rapeseed oil, water, and yeast.
Yes, but here in the US, our dough is made of enriched flour, oh God, I hate reading this stuff. Enriched flour, which is wheat flour, iron, thiamine mononitrate, niacin, riboflavin, and folic acid, water, soybean oil, and it contains less than 2% of the following: sugar, salt, whey maltodextrin, dextrose, dough conditioners such as sodium, stearyl, lactylate, I don't know, it's on the screen, you read it out loud. Enzymes, calcium sulfate, absorbic acid, calcium phosphate, L-cysteine, good for hangovers I hear, yeast, and cornmeal. Yeah, much different. A lot more chemicals. Who saw that coming?
How about the cheese? Domino's in the UK refers to its cheese simply as mozzarella, and it's mostly because the ingredients are just that.
And in the US, Domino's doesn't, possibly can't, call their cheese mozzarella. Instead, they refer to it as pizza cheese. So, the Domino's in the US's pizza cheese has the following ingredients: part skimmed mozzarella cheese, okay, which is pasteurized milk, cultures, salt, enzymes, modified food starch, cellulose, non-fat milk, whey protein concentrate, natural flavors, and sodium propionate. Propionate.
Now let's look at the pepperoni. Most of the ingredients in US and UK pepperoni are actually pretty similar. They both contain pork, salt, dextrose, spices, sodium nitrite, citric acid, flavorings, and starter culture.
You know, the only difference is that our pepperoni contains beef. Also preservatives, butahydrate, hydrolysinase, and butahydrolate, blah, 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 BHA and BHT. I can't pronounce them, they're bad.
It turns out BHA and BHT are actually subject to restrictions in the European Union and can't be added to foods such as pepperoni. This might be because studies have shown that BHA can cause tumours in rats and is therefore reasonably anticipated to be a carcinogen in humans.
Oh well. I'm gonna die doing what I love. Eating banned chemicals.
We reached out to Domino's to get some clarity on the pepperoni situation. We got our info from their ingredients webpage. However, when we checked with them, they told us that their information was incorrect, and they've updated it since to say that BHA and BHT have now been removed from the pepperoni. I think this happened at some point during 2018. They couldn't say exactly when, but Joe, it sounds like you're okay after all. Here are all the items you can only find on the menu at a UK Domino's.
And here are all the things you can only get at a US Domino's.
Let's start with the pizza itself. So firstly, it's the crust options. Now in the UK we can actually get stuffed crust, but what we've gone for here is the Italian style crust. Apologies to the country of Italy for this one. Now the Italian crust is basically the same dough, but just thinner and therefore a bit more crispy. There are a few toppings that you can only get on your pizza in the UK. These include some options we got here, like meatballs, sweet corn, and red onion. But that's not all. You can also get things like Catalan chicken, which is a chicken in a kind of paprika spice. You can get tandoori chicken, which is chicken with some Indian spice blends. And you can also get tuna on your pizza.
Whoa, wait, did he say tuna? Tuna on a pizza? No, no way. So this right here is a pizza that has everything you can only get at a US Domino's. First of all, the crust. It is our thin Brooklyn style crust. Instead of tomato sauce, we did an Alfredo white sauce. We got banana peppers on here, salami, feta cheese, and also Parmesan and cheddar. This should be known as the US only. Like Pizza Hut should have this on the menu and you go, give me the US only, and this is the pizza they give you. Yuck. Don't get this. Yeah, I hate that. Grab a slice, see what you think.
So here are some UK sides that you won't find on the menu at a US Domino's. First of all, we've got the garlic cheesy bread, chicken kickers, which are just like nuggets with a spicy coating. Pretty recently, they've added these poppin' chicken bites to the menu, which kind of similar to KFC's popcorn chicken. You can also get chicken strippers, which is just kind of like chicken tenders. Potato wedges, if you wanted some kind of potato option to go with your pizza. And then you can also get a tub of coleslaw.
I don't think we have garlic cheesy bread, but we do have this, which is like a stuffed cheese bread. Also, the side they have these chicken pieces, and then these right over here, these Parmesan cheese kind of bread knots. Also, I think it's pretty cool, is Domino's will hook you up with a side of grated Parmesan. That's pretty nice. Chicken carbonara, which is a pasta dish, what looks like obviously chicken, bits of bacon, onion. In the US, Domino's offers a lot of different varieties of sandwiches. I just picked one. I got the chicken parm sandwich. Let's take a look at that right there. Look at that chicken parm. How good does that look? Classic garden salad. We found something green on the menu, which is nice. What's we got here? Tomatoes, onions, cheese, lettuce, croutons. Who cares?
Now the default dipping sauce that will come with your pizzas is this garlic and herb dip in the UK. But there are also a couple of sauces which are exclusive to the UK. These include a little pot of Frank's Red Hot sauce, and we can also get a honey mustard.
The Domino's in the US has their own exclusive sauces. This kicker hot sauce, the sweet mango habanero sauce. This one is really good. Ranch, you guys don't have ranch? Thought you did. Guess not. Blue cheese dressing. And of course, marinara sauce.
And finally, if you're someone with a sweet tooth, Domino's has some exclusive dessert items to the UK. Firstly, we've got Domino's cookies, which are actually like really good, especially if you get them when they're warm and they kind of stay warm when they rest on the pizza boxes. And then you can also get a range of Ben & Jerry's flavors from Domino's in the UK. They're like a licensed vendor, which is cool.
And for dessert in the US, you can get either these marbled cookie brownies or these chocolate lava crunch cakes. They also threw in this, the sweet icing. I'm sure it's amazing, so you can pour more sugar all over the sugar. Let's put some icing on the lava guy. Oh! That's too much. Stop. I gotta get this. I'm gonna like eat this whole tray. I gotta get this out of my face. I'm ready to destroy these brownies.
From calorie count to portion sizes, we wanted to find out all the differences between Subway in the UK and the US. This is Food Wars.
This was probably the first time I had Subway in 10 years.
Now that actually surprised me because the way you slid the party sub out of its container looked like something that you've done a lot of times.
Called acting, I'm a natural. That was actually the first take we did of that too. Funny story about that party sub. I ended up giving it to our cameraman and he took it to a party and his bro buddies were like, yo!
At Subway in the UK, you can get sandwiches in 4 different sizes. Firstly, we have toasted bites, a 6-inch sub, a foot-long sub, and then you can get a platter.
And in the US, we have 3 sizes. The 6-inch, the foot-long, there you go, for you and your team. The big boy. Party platter. The old Subway platypus.
Now in the UK, a platter looks like this. What they do is they make 4 foot-long sandwiches, then they cut those into 4s. So you're left with 16 pieces, each of which is 3 inches.
And for the party platter here, they take 5 sandwiches, cutting them into 3 pieces, giving you 15 sandwiches total. In addition, in the US, you can also get yourself a 3-foot-long party sub. Look at this thing! This is ridiculous. 3 feet, so that is, what's that in, what do you got in the UK? That's 17 meters? I have no idea. Yeah!
Now in the UK, drinks at Subway come in 2 sizes. We have a regular, which is 400 milliliters.
20 ounce, Sprite, what up?
And we have a large.
30 ounce, boom. And if you're really thirsty, 40 ounces of soda. 40 ounces is a little over 3 cans of soda. That is way too much soda. That's just too much.
If you're a fan of Subway's cookies, in the UK those come in 3 sizes. 1 cookie, 3 cookies, or 12 cookies.
In the US Subway, you can get a single cookie, a dozen cookies, right like that, or the, hang on, I keep rolling, the 36 cookie platter. Booyah! I'm like in Vegas, baby, all in.
We want to make sure that you're getting the same amount of filling as you do in the US here in the UK. So what we've got here is a foot-long Italian BMT on hearty Italian with lettuce and olives. We're going to weigh it to see if the quantities are the same. All right.
BMT.
So the weights are pretty similar. What we're going to do is take them apart and see how it all adds up. So when it comes to the amount of filling that you get in your subs, it looks like the UK and the US are actually pretty identical. It's all about calories. We found out that the most popular sub at Subway is actually the turkey breast sub. So if you were to walk into a UK Subway and order a regular turkey breast sub, and then make it a meal by including a regular drink and a cookie, you'd be looking at 621 calories.
That same order in the US is 690 calories. Now the sub itself is actually less calories, it's only 250, but the drink, the medium Coke, is around 240, and the cookie is 200 calories. But wait, according to the internet, in the US, the default actually comes with 2 cookies, which brings it to a grand total of 890 calories.
What about the calories in another sub? Well, in the UK, 6 inches of meatball marinara comes in at 492 calories.
In the US, 6-inch meatball is only 430 calories. Yo.
Now, because we're not sure why our meatball sub is more calorific, we're actually going to do another test. We're going to bring back our friend the scales, and we're going to weigh a meatball. This is been a bit delicious. Boom.
And now I will also weigh 1 meatball. I'll find a good one. Don't want the sauce to throw off these measurements. Getting real close. Getting real close over there. Ready? You close? Close? Here we go. Drum roll. And how much is it? No change? Our scale is not very accurate. Sorry. Let's get that weight up on the screen.
Unfortunately, Subway in the UK doesn't disclose a full ingredients list. However, there are some things we can glean from the website. In the UK, the ham, turkey breast, and steak that you'll find in your sandwiches are actually formed.
The turkey bologna and the turkey salami are also made by a process known as mechanically separated turkey. Mechanically separated turkey. What do I got here?
From the allergens list in the UK, we can also see that our meatballs contain milk, although it's not clear if the meatballs contain the milk or if it just comes with cheese by default.
We do have the ingredients list of the meatball sandwich at Subway, and I'll read that to you right now. Oh boy. Beef, water, breadcrumbs, and then we have the kind of square brackets, toasted wheat crumbs, and now we have the curved brackets, enriched wheat flour, now we have the fancy brackets, wheat flour, niacin, reduced iron, thiamine, mononitrate, riboflavin, folic acid, close fancy brackets, sugar, salt, soybean oil, yeast. Let me close the other 2 brackets. Aha! Textured soy protein concentrate, seasoning, open brackets again, dehydrated onion and garlic, salt, spices, dehydrated parsley, soybean oil, close brackets, soy protein concentrate, and the Romano cheese. Can you scroll up, please? Keep going, keep going. The Romano cheese, which is made from pasteurized part skin cow's milk. Ugh. I'm assuming it's skim cow's milk, but to be honest, if I told you there was cow skin in this food, would you be surprised? Part skim cow's milk, cheese cultures, salts, and enzymes. Which enzymes, you ask? They're not at liberty to say, but rest assured there are enzymes. Now, on the bright side, the dough is pretty much normal. For the classic Italian bread, the ingredients are enriched flour, which is wheat flour, niacin, reduced iron, thiamine, mononitrate, nitrate? Yeah, okay. Riboflavin, folic acid, water, yeast, sugar, soybean oil, salt, wheat gluten, cultured wheat flour, malted barley flour, sunflower lecithin, Hey, did you hear that?
Lecithin.
Lecithin. Sunflower lecithin. Dough conditioner, which also has enzymes. Which ones you know now? And ascorbic acid. All that stuff.
While we might not have an ingredients list for our bread, we do know that it's likely to not be perfect. For example, an Irish court recently declared that Subway cannot call its loaves bread due to the high sugar content. Subway uses more than 10% sugar in their flour. Here's everything you can only find on the menu at a UK Subway. So let's start with the subs. Now, there are a few kind of default subs that you can only find in the UK. So then once you've chosen your sub and your bread, we've also got a few other customization options that are exclusive to the UK. For example, in this sub, we've combined a bunch of them. So I've gone for chicken tikka, it has hash browns, it has sweet corn, it has vegan garlic aioli, it has HP brown sauce, and it has whole grain mustard. So brown sauce is kind of a traditional British condiment. The biggest brand manufacturer of it is a brand called HP, which stands for Houses of Parliament, to maybe give a nod.
Harry, are you really Brit-splaining to me HP sauce? I love HP sauce. I've been having HP sauce. I've had a bottle of HP sauce in my fridge for at least the past 20 years.
Over here we have the meatless meatball marinara sub with some vegan mozzarella cheese as well, and it's on chili paprika bread.
Our exclusive customizations in the US include avocado, pepper jack cheese, provolone, Swiss cheese, and banana peppers. And if you like your sauce, you can make your sauce. If you like a saucy sub, you can have the sauciest Subway saucy sub here in the United Sauce, because we have all these sauces, including a balsamic sub sauce, a creamy sriracha, a deli brown mustard, yellow mustard. You guys don't have yellow mustard? That can't be right. Sorry if you don't have yellow mustard. I thought that was everywhere. Oil? Oil? You guys don't have oil either? Okay. Subway herb and garlic oil, ranch, red wine vinaigrette, and a special sub spice.
So moving the subs to one side for a second, we also have some side dishes which are exclusive to the UK. Let's start with this, which kind of surprised me when I saw it on the menu, but you can actually just get a cup of meatballs from Subway. Next, we have the garlic cheesy bread, which I think is just half of their hearty Italian 6-inch with some garlic butter on it, and then they kind of sprinkle some cheese on top and throw it in the toaster oven. The last side dish is nachos. They actually just get some Doritos, throw them into a box, give you some cheese.
Thanks to YouTube Presents for sponsoring this video. This is my friend Ryan. Some people say he looks like Gordon Ramsay, but he certainly doesn't cook like him. But over the next 24 hours, I'm going to teach Ryan how to cook. I'll put him through an intense culinary boot camp, and at the end he'll attempt to cook a perfect beef Wellington, one of the most challenging dishes in the world, all by himself.
If you're watching this video right now, you're going to be a judge. So please, once you finish the video, go comment down below and leave my beef Wellington a rating out of 10.
Apron on? Oh. If and when you deserve it, you'll earn a chef's coat, just like this one. Before we start your official training, I'll need to run a few quick baseline tests to see where your skills are at.
Let's do it.
First up, I want to check your knife skills. Please dice this onion.
Dice the onion.
Donald Trump that the United States is a plutocracy masquerading as a democracy. An oligarchy is government power concentrated in the hands of the few. So you could say a plutocracy is a form of oligarchy. Cambridge Dictionary defines plutocracy as a system of government in which the richest people in a country rule or have power. Trump, an alleged billionaire himself, is the richest person to ever hold the presidency. According to ABC News, he has assembled the wealthiest presidential administration in modern history to take over next year. At least 13 billionaires are set to take on government posts. The total combined net worth of the wealthiest members of his administration could surpass nearly $500 billion. But of course, the lion's share of that total net worth is owned by just one foreign-born billionaire, Elon Musk. Even without Elon, Trump's cabinet is worth at least $7 billion, and many of his picks for ambassadors are also billionaires. For comparison, Joe Biden's cabinet, according to ABC, has a combined net worth of $118 million. Still a concentration of wealth to be sure, but nothing compared to the billionaires we're about to see ascend to the throne when Trump takes office next month. And recent events make it all too clear how much sway these unelected billionaires will have over the elected billionaire in office. And of course, none will have the power over President-elect Trump quite like his new best friend, Elon Musk. From using his role in the Department of Government Efficiency for personal and financial gain, to using the megaphone he bought on Twitter to threaten our elected officials, Elon Musk is demonstrating just how dangerous the concentration of both money and power in the hands of the few can be to democracy. Let's get into it. Thank you to my partner on today's video. The device that to learning how to make. Thank you to Lumen for a bipartisan funding bill hours before the government was set to shut down. The bill temporarily funds the federal government through March, when we get to do this all over again, and in order to get it passed, it was whittled down from over 1,500 pages to just over 100. On Wednesday last week, as the House was preparing to vote on the omnibus spending bill, Elon Musk took to Twitter, according to Salon, posting over 40 times to rail against the spending bill, calling on his supporters to stop the steal of your tax dollars. I'll note that the revised bill that passed cost about the same amount of money as the longer one. Musk also threatened any member of the House or Senate who votes for this outrageous spending bill deserves to be voted out in 2 years. According to Politico, much of Musk's Twitter-based tantrum included promoting outright falsehoods, including agreeing with a post saying, "Just close down the government until January 20th. Defund everything. We will be fine for 33 days. That's right, just shut it down until Trump takes over. That would be fine and painless for everyone. A 5-week shutdown from 2018 to 2019 caused an estimated $3 billion in losses. Musk also railed against the pay increases the legislators gave themselves. And while it is an easy talking point to say, hey, look, they're trying to pay themselves more, and I personally don't think that their end-of-year review should result in any sort of bonus or raise given their does not meet expectations performance. But Musk again shared false information, saying they were giving themselves a 40% pay raise. Members of Congress haven't gotten a raise since 2009, but according to Politico, the maximum potential pay adjustment would be 3.8%, an increase of $6,600. Elon also said the bill would block House Republicans from investigating the January 6th committee, even though the bill literally doesn't say that anywhere. Musk reposted a Libs of TikTok tweet claiming the bill would fund bioweapons labs, when in reality it simply allows for the creation of labs to conduct biomedical research to support public health and medical preparedness as part of a pandemic preparedness plan. Also concerning is that Elon Musk beat Trump to the task of criticizing the bill. Trump and VP-elect J.D. Vance, who literally no one cares about anymore, and I love that, didn't start posting their criticisms until later that evening, with some concerned that Trump's lambasting was really just a means of going beyond what Musk said in order to reestablish Trump's power and authority, which sets a really great precedent for all of us. The president battling the richest man in the world to have the last most bombastic word. I see no way for that to go wrong. And then Tennessee Senator Bill Hagerty had the gall to go on CNN and say, thank God Elon Musk bought Twitter because that's the only way we'd even know what's in this bill. CNN noted, the comment might seem strange since lawmakers ought not to need a social media network to be able to read a bill before they vote. To be clear, yes, 1,500 pages is long, but it's also literally their job. According to the Washington Post, the original bill included an increase to the debt ceiling, which Trump had demanded from Speaker Johnson, plus funding for pediatric cancer research, federal funding for...
It happened again. There I was, sitting, minding my own business, when I remembered James Gunn's Superman would jumpstart a new DC universe, and that the old DC Extended Universe, a decade-old franchise meant to rival Marvel's, is now completely, absolutely dead.
What's wrong?
Nothing.
Not this again.
So the question here is, how could this happen? How did a franchise promising so much end with only one Superman film, a failed Justice League movie, no Batman film, and 3 Harley Quinn movies? It was supposed to be the DC brand brought to life. Characters we dreamed of seeing debuting and interacting with each other. Different storylines that required all of them to come together. Instead, the entire house of cards toppled with a string of 7 box office bombs, an attempted hostile takeover by an egotistical actor, mass desertion by the cast and crew, and some of the actors losing their goddamn minds. It understandably kept me up at night. Who did this? Who would allow this to happen? What god above would do this to us? Does anyone care at this point? I mean, I guess I care. I'm going to put on my Sherlock Holmes cap, and I think I've got it narrowed down to 7 key suspects, each owning some measure of failure, or in many cases, just outright delinquent in their duties. The obvious cheat answer here is, of course, that all of these suspects are guilty and all of them had a role to play in the DCU's untimely demise. But that's really not all that fun and kind of seems like a cop-out. No, there is a real killer. So let's take a look back at who exactly killed the DCEU. Beginning with suspect number 1, Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder was the first person brought on to kickstart the DCEU. He was seen as something of the captain of the ship, steering the universe's direction and serving as the caretaker for these characters. Snyder at this point still had a reasonably good reputation, as his comic book adaptations of both 300 and Watchmen, they still had many fans. And we did see early enthusiasm with him as the head of this universe. DC needed a strong start. They had already tried to create a shared universe with the disastrous Green Lantern, which underperformed and was largely just made fun of by, I guess, people like me. They needed this second attempt to go well. When Marvel launched their own universe, they kicked things off in good form with the surprise hit of Iron Man, which made the character of Tony Stark, the actor Robert Downey Jr., and Marvel as a company all instant household names. 3 birds with 1 stone. Man of Steel, while not an outright reviled film like Green Lantern was, it certainly didn't enjoy the same warm reception by critics or the general audience that maybe Iron Man did. Zack Snyder decided that Man of Steel should be kind of the anti-Marvel. If Marvel was going to go for bright, pulpy, fun, inspired kind of by Star Wars and Indiana Jones, DC would take the other route. They would go for melodrama and action epic. Snyder was very much trying to just ride the wave of Nolan's successful gritty Dark Knight trilogy. Nolan even served as an executive producer on this first film, which put a lot of eyeballs on the project and raised expectations to perhaps unachievable heights. Some criticized Man of Steel for its overly dour tone, poor attempts at Nolan's signature non-linear story structure, awkward pacing, and the injection of 9/11 imagery. Others thought Snyder in general just didn't understand the appeal of the titular character. Superman historically represents a brighter tomorrow. As they say, the S stands for hope.
On my world, it means hope.
Hope starts with an H, stupid.
The cynicism of this version became evident when in the third act, Superman kind of accidentally, or I guess in some cases intentionally, destroys half a city and then kills a ton of people without really caring all that much. I mean, he basically has the ashes of the dead raining around him while he's making out with Lois Lane. For all he cares, humans on the ground, they're pretty much like insects, like little ants. And that's all before he barbarically murders the main villain with his bare hands. It didn't exactly leave people with that warm, fuzzy feeling that they came to expect from this character. Yet the movie has just as many defenders. People who love it for its grounded, realistic take. Hans Zimmer's pounding score, Snyder's just auteur style of capturing a comic book frame, and Cavill's pitch-perfect look for the character. Not to mention, in general, just making Superman look like a badass. This was not an outright failure, but it wasn't really a knockout of the park either. It slightly underperformed expectations at the box office, but it did still rope in a healthy $670 million. There was still enthusiasm behind this new franchise, and never more so than at the next Comic-Con, where they announced the sequel would pit The Dark Knight against The Last Son of Krypton. This was the movie that fans had been waiting for years. People were like, over the top. They were going like, oh, rest in peace, Marvel. You're dead and buried. It only gained more hype when people realized that it was going to lead into not 1, but 2 Justice League movies. Batman vs. Superman would introduce most of the Justice League while also bringing in Superman's arch-nemesis Lex Luthor. Oh, and everyone got all excited. Will it be Bryan Cranston, just because he played a bald guy once? No, it wasn't. It was Jesse Eisenberg playing a social media tech bro version of the character.
If you guys were the inventors of Facebook, you'd have invented Facebook.
Here is where we get into likely Snyder's true failings as the lead of this entire universe. One that may get him placed behind bars for, dare I say it, murder? Warner Brothers trusted him with these characters, in the same way that Kevin Feige was trusted to bring the Marvel library to screen. Fans wanted to see these beloved characters modernized, but still very true to the source. The big problem here is, I'm not so sure Snyder ever cared about the source material. In an interview for Watchmen, Snyder claimed he didn't really like traditional superheroes at all. That's why he felt Watchmen was such a good fit for him. He once even claimed that if he got to direct a Batman movie, he would have Bruce Wayne thrown in prison and raped. I guess the WB executives didn't really see that quote before giving him the full-time gig. That may have been a good thing to look into. Snyder was also quoted in interviews saying that he'd like to deconstruct the classic idea of heroes.
I'm deep in Watchmen. I'm deep in deconstructing
deconstructing like superheroes. It's like, hey, do you want to make a Superman movie? It's like, what? I'm about to tear him down. Right? I'm going to kill him.
Right.
I'm not interested in fixing him or making him interesting. He's the enemy right now.
But this universe was in its infancy. His characters were basically narrative babies. You have to build these characters up first before you can deconstruct them. Because of this, Snyder was often prone to stunt casting. Eisenberg was originally looked at for the role of Jimmy Olsen, but he ended up being wildly out of type for Lex Luthor. Probably a good thing for Eisenberg that he wasn't cast as Jimmy Olsen, because that character got shot in the head in the first 5 minutes of the extended cut. He didn't even make the theatrical. And why did Snyder kill Jimmy Olsen? Well, this was all because he considered the character outdated and ridiculous. Too cheesy, even. And Jason Momoa was originally auditioned for Batman for Bruce Wayne, but instead he ended up cast as this kind of, again, very out of type, just this bro Aquaman.
Ride ain't over yet. My man.
And then there's Superman, who became this cold and distant alien, who seems to value human lives like this distant god, rather than a kid from Kansas, who's been here and lived this life. Batman, he probably got the really short end of the stick. He became a mass-murdering sociopath who uses guns, flattens criminals with his car, and brands prisoners so they can later be shivved in prison. Flash was made hyperactive and autistic, while Cyborg, most well known for Teen Titans and his upbeat catchphrase, "Booyah!"
We'd love to stay, but there's no place to sit. Booyah, skadoo!
He's now turned into just this tortured, tragic soul, basically Frankenstein's monster.
I'm a monster!
To be completely honest, he was mostly here because the producers probably looked at each other and went, you know, we need someone like Iron Man, who in our pantheon is kinda sorta, if you squint your eyes, a little bit like Iron Man. In the end, Snyder was never the great caretaker WB had hoped for. And with each movie, he alienated more viewers. Where Man of Steel was met with this mixed response, Batman v Superman was largely panned for its meandering pace, nonsense Lex Luthor plan, and a third act that pretty much made you feel like you were having a seizure.
Save Martha! Why did you say that name?
Add in a higher-than-thou tone that sold itself as just smarter than the script ever was, and it put off a lot of viewers. Professional critics, meanwhile, they dogpiled on that dark tone in particular. This caused WB just to have this complete panic attack and wring their hands over ongoing productions. Justice League, it was supposed to follow with this tone. We know this thanks to the Snyder Cut, which, for the most part, carries on the same self-seriousness. Though his cut of the Justice League is far better than the theatrical one, it was still overly bloated at 4 hours long and is still to blame for a lot of the awkward characterization choices that were found in the canon theatrical version. Snyder liked non-superhero movies. That's just a fact. Movies where heroes were revealed to be flawed gods trying to fit in with our world. That's not a bad direction for DC to go in. I can't remember who said it, but I once heard Marvel is about humans trying to become heroes, and DC is about gods trying to be human. I've always thought that's a really great and smart separation. This could have worked brilliantly, but the scripts, they just never really supported Snyder or his killer eye for visuals. His mission to make everything as epic as it could be could often come off as almost immature or clumsy. His attempts to deconstruct characters before they had even been constructed, this all just felt cynical. Yet his guidance did have some artistic and narrative coherence, especially compared to what they ended up doing later on. In the end, I can hardly blame Snyder for the demise of this project as a whole, especially when he was removed from Justice League mid-filming. At first, it was reported that he left himself due to the brutally tragic death of his daughter, but later it was revealed that he was actually forcibly removed by WB, all because they had gotten cold feet regarding the overall tone of the franchise. Again, all due to the critics singling out the dark aesthetic. I wouldn't even put that as one of the top 10 problems. I'd put probably even the title higher than that. That's always driven me crazy. Why is it just a V? Are they going to court? Who did this? Who made this decision? Snyder would leave the franchise without ever getting to make his part 2 of Justice League. Hell, he didn't even get to finish part 1 of Justice League. Reshoots were instead handed off to director Joss Whedon, who was tasked with entirely retooling the movie to meet the executive's wants and needs. And that brings us to suspect number 2, Joss Whedon.
But there is at least one truly guilty party behind it all, committing a heinous crime with selfish intent.
Only 2 years previously, Joss Whedon had been enjoying the high point of his career. He had helped bring the MCU to a climatic triumph in 2012's The Avengers, and then followed it up with perhaps the less well-received but equally successful Age of Ultron. Both became 2 of the highest-grossing films ever And the Warner Brother executives, they were drooling at the idea of getting their little mitts on a bit of that money. They wanted their own Avengers, and they were going to do anything to get it. Every single thing they had done up to this point was all to the sole purpose of cooking up a billion-dollar team-up movie. As they lost faith in Snyder's ability to execute on that goal, they pivoted and quickly traded him out. Undoubtedly, WB was thinking, who better to make an Avengers movie than the very man who made the Avengers? Wow, it's genius! What could go wrong? A whole lot, apparently. There was a big glaring problem here that anyone with half a brain cell could have spotted. Whedon and Snyder's styles, they were completely incompatible. Water and oil, yin and yang. You could not find two more polar opposite filmmakers if you tried. Snyder was self-serious and grandiose. He liked things to feel big and epic, and paid more mind to making his frames a painting, often or sometimes to the detriment of characters or story. But all his shots felt very purposeful, and his tone larger than life. It wanted to go for that melodrama. Whedon, on the other hand, came from a TV background, and his movies sort of looked like, well, TV, but he made up for it with an entertaining tongue-in-cheek tone, quippy dialogue, and stories that hinged on interpersonal conflict. This was great for ensemble dynamics. Trying to get Whedon to build off Snyder's foundation, it's like asking Picasso to paint over Da Vinci. It doesn't matter how good your artists are, these could have been the greatest directors on the face of the planet, and their styles still would never gel. The result was a real Frankenstein's monster, pulled between two directors in a game of tug-of-war. The film was shot for Snyder's planned darker color grading, but when you jack up that exposure, the costumes and sets all look extremely tacky and ugly. It didn't help that the entire finale, they decided for some reason to put it all in just this ugly orange tint. Characters like the villainous Steppenwolf were completely redesigned last minute into horrifying monstrosities that looked more at home on a PS2 than, a big blockbuster with millions of dollars dumped into it. Lots of the Whedon-esque quippy, goofy comedy was added, but it all felt really off next to the darker, more dour moments.
Yeah. Oh, something is definitely bleeding.
The movie was completely, I was going to say trimmed down, but the more accurate phrase would be slashed to pieces. In pursuit of a leaner runtime, a lot of the character development, arcs, and world building, these were all left on the cutting room floor. Again, much to the chagrin, or I guess temper tantrums, of the actors that were having to perform. It was very sad. I'm sure it was hard. The result then was that this movie struggled to even break even. With a cost around $300 million plus marketing, Justice League barely made $660 million. When you factor in marketing budget with that, this was not the box office triumph that WB had been chasing. It was a complete backfire and just outright embarrassment. Whedon seemed like he injected zero of his own passion into this project. He treated this gig like he was just a hired gun, which, let's be honest, he was. But it was never his own baby. It wasn't like Buffy the Vampire Slayer or Avengers. He felt no real personal attachment to it, and the lack of care came across in the final product. Even worse, Whedon had found himself in hot water. He'd once been revered as this director who was a champion of feminism, but now somehow he'd become a icon for toxic masculinity.
I hate feminists. Is this a good time to bring that up?
This was all made worse when actor Ray Fisher came out against his behavior on set and made it a personal vendetta to take him down. WB, I guess, didn't appreciate this gesture of nuking their multi-million-dollar movie and retaliated by torching Fisher's entire career. But he wasn't the only one. Affleck, he looked noticeably checked out when you compare the original scenes to the new ones that were shot. And then, it's hard to deny how the Justice League failing, it just took the wind out of their sails. It was meant to be their Avengers, and it falling flat, it just made the entire next phase of the DCEU feel completely directionless, with no real future destination. They definitely needed to carve out a new identity for themselves to survive. I mean, it didn't, clearly, because it's dead now. But it also ran up against an all-new disaster that froze all social entertainment across the entire United States. That's right. I'm talking about the dreaded plague. Suspect number 3, the plague.
Bring out your dead! I'm not dead! He says he's not dead. Yes, he is. I feel happy!
And yeah, I will be calling it the plague to avoid that dreaded YouTube gods coming down and smiting my poor little 8K channel. You can help that, of course, by liking and subscribing. I'm just a little guy.
Him too afraid to get out. He just a little guy. That's it, big boy. I'm gonna wail on you.
You can make us bigger. That should help. When the outbreak hit the United States, movie production was shut down and theaters closed. The plague could not have come at a worse time for the DCEU. The franchise had just taken a mallet to the knees with Justice League, and now had to find something new that would excite the masses, despite, the masses being unable to even go to their movie or go to the theater at all. They decided instead of taking new risks, they would instead chase previous successes. The first Wonder Woman was probably their most lauded film, and Gal Gadot's take was well received across the board. What she didn't have in acting, people felt she made up for it with natural charisma, and probably some good looks. Those helped too. And I'd say, for the most part, I'd agree. Usually.
Kal-El, no!
The first Suicide Squad, it crashed and burned critically. I'm personally of the opinion that it's one of the worst examples I've ever seen of momentary and structural editing for a big-budget feature film. But you can go see Folding Ideas' video on that. He absolutely killed it. No one's going to do it any better. This movie really should be taught in film schools on what not to do. Suicide Squad, it still made money though, and that's really what's important to the Warner Brothers executives. Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn was especially singled out as a high point. The Suicide Squad's production overall, it was another train wreck. Yes, the producers, for some ungodly reason, had decided, hey, let's take the movie away from our director and hand it to a trailer team to try and edit, just so they can try and capture the tone that they marketed in the trailers. Again, they were scared of that dark tone, and they wanted to strip it all away and try and pitch this as more like it's Guardians of the Galaxy. Except it's not. It wasn't shot that way, and it was never meant to be. And you can only trick the audiences so much. So when they went to go do the sequel, who better to replicate that success of Guardians than the man who made the Guardians movies? Are you starting to see a pattern yet? And I'm going to give them credit where credit's due. Building off things that worked, that's not a bad strategy. That's actually usually a good strategy. Even though it did make it feel like DC was kind of prioritizing these B-list characters over their mainstays. Now that I think about it though, even Aquaman, it made a ton of money, and even it came out as this afterthought. And that was one of the biggest successes of the entire franchise. It made over $1 billion, the only movie to do so. Yet it still took 5 years to get a sequel. Shazam, likewise, did modest numbers, but its sequel was put off, again, for about 5 years, despite the concept being a kid who transforms into an adult. But that doesn't work as well when the kid is like 20 years old. Gee, it makes you wonder, why did the sequel flop? It's almost like our concept got blown up. Back to the plague, all hell did break loose. Theaters closed, social distancing was enforced, and many theaters, they shuttered their doors forever. It didn't help that the quality of the DCEU films, they were as usual unreliable and kind of all over the place. Wonder Woman 1984 was regarded as one of the worst of the entire DCEU, and that is saying something. It was a massive disappointment compared with the first, with bad action scenes, a corny 80s tone, hammy villains, and a half-baked plot. Many also went the extra mile and accused the character of sexual impropriety, so that wasn't great. Birds of Prey was really kind of mixed reception. Sorry, did I say Birds of Prey? I meant Birds of Prey, the wonderful, not lengthy title that shoehorns in the emancipation of one Harley Quinn, or whatever it was. It was a competently made film, but a complete just kind of bastardization of the source material. So you didn't win over a lot of the fans. It suffered more than anything from a marketing campaign that seemed dedicated to not making money. I don't know why. I mean, they tried to correct midstream. They even changed the title to Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey, something that people could actually say. But the damage was already done. The Suicide Squad was by far one of the best movies produced for the franchise, thanks to Gunn just being a confident director. But again, the marketing failed to separate it from the original, all the way down to that title. Again, we can't get past the title on these even. The titles were almost exactly the same. I know people, were unaware there was a second movie because it was just named the exact same thing. It also suffered from being just guilty by association with the very, very heavily disliked first movie. And quality aside, there was another tiny little problem here. How was anyone going to go watch this movie? All three got hit hard by the plague and were released straight to streaming on HBO Max, the very same day that they hit a very limited number of theaters. See, Warner Brothers here, their strategy had been to use the day and date release to instead generate interest in their streaming service, HBO Max, all while eating massive losses. The result was that all three movies just completely flopped. This natural disaster combined with the largely lackluster films, this set the stage for just a string of DCEU flops. In fact, Aquaman and Shazam, which went, again, so long just being ignored, they ironically would end up being the last true profitable films of the franchise. All others would flop or claw their way to break even. The gas in the DCEU tank was completely empty at this point. Yet WB, they were confident there was one man who could turn it all around. The man, the myth, the legend. Yes, I'm talking about suspect number 4, The Rock.
Now, what you're going to see here is why the hierarchy of power in the DC universe is about to change.
And The Rock did completely change the course of the DCEU, just not in the way he wanted or expected. To me, The Rock's role in the DCEU could be considered nothing short of a hostile takeover. An attempt to take a franchise that was treading water, or I guess in this case, kind of almost drowning, and then promise a complete rebrand in his own image. Statues would be erected in his honor. Literally. Dwayne Johnson was extremely hands-on with the production of Black Adam, and believed its success was basically a foregone conclusion. He immediately started to plan new spin-offs and expansions before it even hit theaters. I'm not even convinced yet that he cared about the first movie. It seemed like it was just a means to an end. He seemed laser-focused on getting to what he really wanted, which was a chance to personally beat up Superman on the big screen. That seems about right for his ego. He seemed almost unaware that his character was not actually a Superman villain, but a Shazam villain. In fact, he wasn't just a Shazam villain, he was his arch nemesis. The Rock had no interest in that, okay? Not any whatsoever. Despite being part of that franchise, he acted like he was above it all. It's like he only chose Black Adam as a character solely because someone showed him a picture of him and he said, hey, that kind of looks like me.
I always gravitated towards Black Adam because he was one of the few who looked like me.
I guess WB had a lot of faith in him, though, because they decided to burn $260 million on a movie that was nothing more than a vanity project. It lost a reported $110 million. It even had the gall to drag poor Henry Cavill out of retirement. He had retreated from DC due to a frustration over the reshoots for a theatrical Justice League, where he was completely embarrassed and ridiculed for a CGI lip that had to hide a mustache he had grown for Mission Impossible. He was equally frustrated that there had been no development on a promised Man of Steel sequel. Dwayne Johnson was the one who was successful getting Cavill back in the studio and in tights to film a post-credit scene, all to promise a movie that would be a showdown between Black Adam and Superman. Cavill also made this equally embarrassing social media post about how excited he was to finally return.
I wanted to make it official that I am back as Superman, and what you saw in Black Adam are just a very small taste of things to come. And thank you for your patience. I promise it will be rewarded.
But he didn't. He didn't return. Nobody did. They're all gone. The negative reviews for Black Adam and the bad box office return, this meant that Dwayne Johnson's big dreams for his wing of the DCEU, they were effectively dead. Most found his character one note and boring. His movie kind of looked like dirt, and most of the plot felt aimless with twists you could see from a mile away. To add insult to injury, WB again told Cavill they had no plans for him and he was shuffled off to The Witcher, where Netflix then proceeded to treat him about as well as DC did. A complete waste of an actor that was passionate about the character and never got the chance to truly shine. And just for the record, I'm talking about both The Witcher and Superman. Both of them. Back to The Rock, no, I don't think he killed the DCEU. I don't think he was ever as important as he thought he was. Despite all his grandstanding and bluster, he really was hardly more than a footnote. Hell, when I mention this movie to people, they seem genuinely surprised that it exists. Or they'll go like, oh yeah, that's right. I remember seeing a trailer for that once, I think. The DCEU was on a fast track with no brakes. Its momentum and destination at this point, I think it's pretty inevitable. It was going for gone. And The Rock wasn't even the actor that caused them the most problems. No, there was another actor who infamously stole his spotlight. And no, I'm not talking about Amber Heard from Aquaman, who got caught up in this domestic abuse scandal with her ex-husband, Jack Sparrow. Although I'm sure this big public court case didn't really help either. Many fans did see her actions as basically being the equivalent of Gone Girling Depp, but we're not going to get into that. She was never important, even less so than The Rock. No, we're talking about suspect number 5, Ezra Miller.
You're not trying to draw a psycho pension. You really are crazy.
At this point, the DCEU was once again this lost poor ship without a captain. But there was one comforting constant in its total existence through all of time. A promise that a Flash movie will and always has been in development. Now, a Flash movie, it goes back a long ways. It had been in development hell as early as 2011. It was originally supposed to be a sequel to Green Lantern in their first attempt at the shared universe. The Flash was officially added to the DCEU lineup with a set date of 2017. Much like the joke that the fastest man alive is always late, the movie would not arrive until 6 years later in 2023. Its development was complete and utter chaos. Studio meddling led to countless talented filmmakers leaving the project. Here's all the creators who signed on or were about to sign on and decided to bail, okay? You had David S. Goyer, Phil Lord and Chris Miller, Seth Graham Smith, Rick Femme, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your last name. I'll look it up later. I'm sorry, Rick. We'll get back to you. Robert Zemeckis, Matthew Vaughn, and Dalian Goldstein, okay? You had like 8 different directors go through this thing. Finally, they found Andy Muschietti, who had the stomach, the tolerance to stay long enough to actually put some image to celluloid. The Flash was going to be loosely based on Flashpoint. And this entire story, the script had gone through like so many people and so many iterations. It was the personification of too many cooks in the kitchen. It not only had to get to screen, a seemingly monumental, just impossible task to accomplish, it also had to, in and of itself, reset the entire DCEU. Okay? It's exhausting. Warner Brothers had planned it as a springboard to the next phase of storytelling, a master plan to introduce a multiverse arc that would culminate in the famous DC story, Crisis on Infinite Earths. They had even filmed a post-credit scene with Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton returning as 2 separate Batmen. These scenes, I don't need to tell you again, never saw the light of day. But the real anvil around the production's neck was none other than the lead star Ezra Miller, who decided now of all times, was as good as any to dive right off the deep end. Ezra Miller had been another controversial pick for the role of Barry Allen, another choice by Snyder to depict the Flash as this fast, hyperactive kid who possibly is a little on the spectrum. And I'm not making fun of that choice because I actually think that's not a bad creative choice. You can go somewhere with that. But it did rub a lot of fans the wrong way, and many found him to be very grating and irritating. Miller was still one of the it actors. That promise became a liability with a long string of scandals involving assaults on women, arrests in Hawaii, accusations of grooming and child kidnapping, further accusations of trying to start a cult with himself as like a Jesus figure, I guess, leaving guns and ammunition around children, and much, much more. Okay, just an endless list of just like bad stuff you really don't want in, news and circulation. In this instance, I actually find myself pitting the WB executives. A little, not much. David Zaslav, I think at this point, was the owner of WB, and my empathy for him is very, very limited, but we'll get to more on that later. Back to our ship analogy, the DCEU now had a bunch of holes in it, and they were desperately trying to patch them all. And who can blame them in this case? I mean, there were rumors that they would scrap the entire film and write it off for taxes just like they did for Batgirl. The problem is, with so much money dumped into development and reshoots, The Flash had ballooned to the outrageous budget of about $300 million. Okay, that's crazy. They were going to try and salvage it. Miller went to therapy. They'd even tried to trick the audiences into thinking this was all, a Batman movie and had nothing to do with The Flash. There were even more outrageous rumors of them digitally replacing him in every scene with Grant Gustin, who played the CW version of the character. And I kind of wish they had, mostly because he seems like a likable guy, not somebody who's gonna, beat up women, kidnap children, or start a cult. Please don't, Grant. I mean, don't prove me wrong now. The idea of digitally replacing Miller was a pipe dream to begin with. This could not have happened to a worse film because Miller played not 1, not 2, but kind of 3 characters. Replacing him would have been a monumental and costly task, and this was already well over budget with no hope of making it back. And it didn't. I mean, not even with Keaton basically being put right front and center in those posters. It made only $270 million against its reported over-budgeted $300 million. In truth, Ezra Miller may have very well been the person who actually deserves conviction. And I mean that both metaphorically and literally. The Flash crashed and burned, and it became the straw that broke the camel's back. DC would have to recast the role if they were ever going to use Barry Allen in the future. And that would have only just caused more bad press. Even worse, The Flash completely derailed their plan for Crisis on Infinite Earths. The ending of the movie was reshot, so Barry, rather than meeting Keaton and getting this weird warning from Affleck in another universe, instead, Barry becomes marooned in the Batman and Robin universe and just trapped there with George Clooney, I guess. I can't think of a more deserving fate. And I'm serious, this is likely what finally made DC throw in the towel. They finally saw this was a universe that they could not salvage. And that brings us to the man who actually put the knife to the franchise's throat. Certainly no one on this list could possibly be more responsible for murder than James Gunn. So suspect number 6, James Gunn.
I have a plan. You've got a plan. I have part of a plan. What percentage? I don't know. 12%. 12%?
Who would have thought it? The small indie filmmaker that rose from Slither to become one of Marvel's biggest directors with Guardians of the Galaxy, then was fired from Marvel, hired by DC, delivered one of their best reviewed movies but one of their biggest flops, only then to be rehired by Marvel for Guardians 3, before DC then fully successfully stole him away for the DC reboot. It's been a wild ride for James Gunn. This entire string of events would only really serve to make him more powerful than ever.
If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
James Gunn had delivered 2 big wins for the DCEU. Sort of. Kind of wins. The Suicide Squad was one of their best received movies. Even though it was a box office failure, they acknowledged it was mostly due to poor marketing and the plague. Peacemaker, on the other hand, ended up being a good-sized hit for HBO Max. It showed the executives over at Warner Brothers that maybe it was this guy. This is the guy to steer the franchise into calmer and more profitable waters. There was, again, another hitch, a little problem in their plan. Gunn took one look at this half-sunken ship and said, no thank you. He basically told him if he was going to come on board, this whole thing would have to be rebuilt from the start with his producing partner, Peter Safran. In Gunn's eyes, the DCEU was damaged beyond repair. A Superman who was burned way too many times and didn't want to return. He didn't trust them. A Batman who passed up directing his own movie and also felt burned. Affleck had only returned for a very small role in The Flash, and that was it. He was promised for nothing else. Then you had a Flash actor who had lost his damn mind, a Cyborg who had been blacklisted for the studio for speaking out about internal executive actions. It was just a mess. Their whole Justice League was basically poof, into the air. The only people still there was Aquaman and Wonder Woman, okay? That's not a Justice League, that's a Justice coupling. The entire franchise at this point was mired by just countless scandals, bad films, empty promises, and fleeing artists, and more. There's way more than I can possibly cover in this video. There's just one clear solution, and it was one of Hollywood's favorites: reboot. The DCEU would be scrapped, and in its place, a new DCU would be built, starting with a new Superman movie directed by James Gunn himself. That must have really stung for poor Henry Cavill, who'd just been sitting by his phone this entire time, just staring at it, probably going like, will they call me? Is it time? Has my time come? Your time has not come, and it will not be coming. I'm sorry. This new start was called Superman Legacy, and it was strangely announced, while there was still films that were on release schedule for the DCEU. These included Shazam 2, Blue Beetle, and Aquaman 2. This would effectively serve to kill any interest in these movies, as they now felt like they were just part of a dead franchise walking. All 3 would, say it with me again, horribly flop. It's all just adding insult to injury at this point. I mean, what was even the point of doing that? You couldn't wait on an announcement like a couple months? So that's it then, right? James Gunn is the killer. He did it. No debate. But not so fast, because is this really a reboot? Well, yeah, but also kinda no, I guess. I don't know. You see, one of Gunn's weaknesses, or strengths depending on the situation, is his true passion for his projects. He is not a gun for hire. No pun intended there. He truly does love his work, both on Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, and by golly, he was not going to let them go down with the ship. As a result, their status, both in the DCEU old canon and this new DCU canon, I have no idea. It's a mangled mess. They're like in this weird Venn diagram. They're like the center for some weird reason. Gunn has called them soft canon to the DCU. Even in Creature Commandos, which just came out, these properties are mentioned in that show as part of the new DCU canon. Look, I follow this stuff, and even I am a little I'm not sure what any of this means. It would be pretty easy just to say, hey, they were never part of the DCEU. They were always part of the DCU, okay? They're part of that canon. Except for, again, one little problem. Peacemaker has a cameo from the entire DCEU Justice League. It's pretty hard to get around that. As excited as I am for Gunn's upcoming reboot, and I do think he's going to do great with Superman. I hope so. Stand by. But I also have to recognize how questionable it is for Gunn to just keep one hand on the wheel and the other on the rudder. Let's hope that he doesn't drive this whole thing into an iceberg. I'm using the ship metaphor a lot. This is really working out for me. I didn't intentionally do this, by the way. I guess I was thinking about boats for some reason.
You think you're so great because you have boats!
I follow this stuff, and I'm confused. And I'm thinking it's going to make a large amount of the audience approach this new universe with suspicion, some under the impression that it's just still part of the old DCEU, and nothing has changed. So if James Gunn didn't kill the original DCEU, he may very well just kill his own DCU with this short-sighted choice. This brings up the question, if we found James Gunn in the library with a knife, why are we still talking here? Okay, let's wrap it up, go home, save me some editing time. He is the killer, but again, hold up. We've got one more suspect to talk about, and that's suspect number 7, Marvel. Marvel was far more recognizable than DC at this point. And for those who knew DC, Marvel certainly had the better reputation. If Marvel was the murderer, it was a killer by comparison. Whenever a DC film came out, or whenever they made any kind of clumsy attempts at wider world building, it would always come back and be recompared to Marvel again. DC was starting from behind and playing a desperate game of catch-up. Why they felt they needed to play catch-up? I don't know. They should have been more focused on being their own thing and not trying to do things the exact same way. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend that Marvel was all innocent either, okay? Marvel was actively engaged in counter-programming, intentionally setting up similar films and characters that the audience could then easily contrast with DC's offerings. I very much remember the bloodthirsty fan wars of 2016. DC and Marvel fans just at each other's throats. Marvel confidently was going into their third story arc with Phase 3, as DC was only just getting started on their second film with Batman v Superman. So what was the reason for all this higher than normal fan tension? Also, why is there fan tension? I don't know. Fans like their stuff. Anyways, the reason for that tension? Counter-programming. After DC knocked the doors off Comic-Con with the announcement of Batman fighting Superman, Warner Brothers felt confident enough to schedule the film on the exact same week as Captain America 3. And how did Marvel respond to this? Not well. I mean, they mostly just dug in their heels. Feige, I guess, dumped a dump truck full of money on the Russo brothers production studio so they could hire Robert Downey Jr. and turn Captain America 3 into Civil War. Captain America versus Iron Man. Or Avengers versus Avengers. Okay, it was the ultimate power play. All right, it was petty even in some ways. But hey, you got a good movie out of it. But DC, they now saw that they could not compete with that brand, and they lost their confidence and folded. This was a movie directly meant to be similar. It's like when Deep Impact released the same year as Armageddon, or Megamind the same year as Despicable Me. Don't be fooling yourself into thinking these are coincidences that just happen from time to time. It's a marketing tactic to draw attention to competing brands. Marvel was playing a very old game, and it wasn't their first time or last time. In return for Justice League Part 1 and 2 being announced, Marvel announced that Infinity War, it too now would be 2 films. In anticipation of Wonder Woman, Marvel then planned a Captain Marvel movie. Despite that character never catching on in the comics the same way or to the same extent as Gal Gadot's female icon had. And then, when the DCEU signaled that their next big thing was to build a multiverse story with Crisis on Infinite Earths, what do you know? Marvel then countered that by saying, we too are doing our own multiverse story. If DC was going to do anything, Marvel was going to position itself to do it better. And when we're talking about the multiverse stories, the DCEU may have inadvertently lured Marvel into a trap. They've already abandoned this story concept, but Marvel is still stuck knee-deep in it, and doesn't seem like it's going to be getting out anytime soon, as much as some of the fans would like it to. Marvel Studios and their universe, they were a juggernaut of the 2010s. Love them or hate them, they helped turn the superhero into the defining genre of that decade. Any comic movie was going to get compared to them. It just couldn't be helped. And the DCEU, it did suffer for it. The WB executives felt that pressure to compete and match what they were doing. It's the only reason that the DCEU even exists in the first place, because WB saw the profitability. It's in rushing to catch up that DC trips over its own legs. It was too much, too fast. One of the successes of the MCU is they took one full phase to set up all their major characters as individuals, each with their own movie that established their wants, who they were, and what set them apart from the others, and also why people should care and come back to see them again. With that, they could then spin them off into other adventures, joint adventures, and people would catch on to different franchises through the individual characters. Not even Marvel has really taken this lesson to heart, as this new Infinity Saga has been really struggling to catch lightning in a bottle for a second time. And for DC, the message certainly didn't sink in. Batman v Superman was one big game of catch-up for them, okay? It's them trying to run a marathon in like 2 minutes. It was trying to introduce half the Justice League characters, and then the other half of the characters as just these characters on a flash drive. And then they had the plot line of The Dark Knight Returns. And then they had the death of Superman in there. Then they had Doomsday in there, okay? It was just trying to do too much. There are these memes saying that if Marvel had made their first phase the exact same way DC had, it would have been Iron Man, then Civil War, then Guardians of the Galaxy, then Captain Marvel, then Avengers. Understandably, the Avengers likely would not have been as big of a hit if it was that lineup that set everything up. The accusation here basically is that DC died from envy. But let's get to the conclusion here, what you guys have all been waiting for. Who is the real killer?
Shot or killed? Oh, let's restrict it to killed so we may have a manageable figure.
We have our 7 suspects. Zack Snyder, a man more interested in deconstructing his characters rather than building them up. Joss Whedon, a hired gun without passion, who botched their crown jewel and, in the end, made people lose interest very early in this franchise. The Plague, an outbreak that no one saw coming that upset the industry. The Rock, an egotistical actor who tried to hijack the franchise. Ezra Miller, a mentally unstable lead who obliterated their final Hail Mary. And then James Gunn, who favored a reboot and really put the knife into the DCEU. And finally, Marvel, that counter-programmed and was a constant rival and reminder of what they weren't. Like I said at the beginning, they all had a role to play in the demise of this franchise. They all share blame in one way or another. But the real killer here is, when talking about every suspect, all 7 of them, I strangely kept bringing up someone or something over and over again. Yeah, the WB producers. Let's think back to how this all began. Rewind to the start. No, it's not actually Man of Steel. It goes way further back than that. It all starts with Green Lantern. In 2011, Warner Brothers, they saw what Marvel was doing, and they were eager to get in on the action early. If they had, they may not have had to ever play catch-up at all. Green Lantern became their answer to Iron Man. They had a charismatic, snarky lead with Ryan Reynolds, tried to replicate a similar tone, and tried to set up connections to lead into an extended universe. But, alas, everybody hated it.
I know, right?
So, it was a no-go. And so they pivoted. They instead decided to chase the Dark Knight trilogy and hire Zack Snyder to make a dark, epic universe to counter the lightweight fun of their rivals. When the critics, and to a lesser extent the audiences, rejected this vision, they pivoted again. They ripped both Justice League and Suicide Squad away from their creators. They tried to turn Suicide Squad into Guardians of the Galaxy, and Justice League into Avengers.
You really are out of your mind.
I'm not the one who brought a pitchfork.
The result was 2 disasters way worse than anything Batman v Superman did. I think they still could have recovered from the negative attitude towards Batman v Superman. I mean, they had a big hit in Wonder Woman, but not anymore. Not after they also nuked 2 more movies. Then they foolishly ignored the successes of both Shazam and Aquaman and waited until The Iron was cool to hit the sequels. By the time both arrived, no one really cared. Instead, they chose to prioritize streaming over theatrical releases during the plague, which only hurt them even more. And they certainly weren't helped by the bad marketing during that period, effectively burying at least one of their best movies. They became completely lost and directionless. They had no central figure like Kevin Feige to steer a wider multiverse story. Instead, they flirted kind of between a commitment to known properties and smaller B films, which doesn't sound that bad, except they weren't focused in that. It was randomized. It was an endless string of various movie developments, and most of them never even saw the light of day. And just to give you a sense of how just sweeping their various, throwing stuff at the wall and trying to see if it sticks, let's just look at what was all in development, okay? You had a Harley Quinn vs. Joker movie, possibly, a Jared Leto Joker movie, Aquaman spinoff called The Trench, New Gods, a Wonder Twins movie, Man of Steel 2, You had Ben Affleck's Batman movie that eventually became The Batman, Black Adam vs. Superman, Green Lantern Corps, Lobo, a Cyborg solo movie that was actually on their full chart, Justice League Part 2, Gotham City Sirens, Deadshot, Deathstroke, Supergirl, a Themyscira movie, Crisis on Infinite Earths. You'll see I ran out of fingers here. Batman Beyond, possibly even. Okay. Wonder Woman 3, and about 14 different versions of an unproduced Flash movie. They were completely everywhere and scattershot and just unfocused in building a connective universe. This is not how you do it. You need character arcs and story arcs that all get to cross over into various franchises. And while all this was happening, the independent standalone movies like The Joker and Reeves' The Batman, they were actually raking in real returns and getting great reviews, which was showing that maybe, hey, the big universe thing maybe is not what it's all cracked up to be. And even when they had finished products, the turnover and ownership of the studio and leadership, this caused some executives, one in particular, to decide to literally delete everything, all the blood, sweat, and tears of artists for just an easy tax break. Batgirl was already in the can. It featured the return of Michael Keaton even, but that didn't save it from being deleted. Marvel succeeded for one reason: forward vision. Kevin Feige may now be struggling to replicate his early successes, but none can deny he is perhaps the most influential producer since maybe Walt Disney himself. I can't really point to another producer that's as hands-on or as story-driven since, the early days of Disney animation. This is a compliment to him. Feige was brought in as a Marvel born and bred fan, but he had that early experience gained from watching the successes and failures of the early 2000 films, which were very, very rocky productions sometimes. He saw what worked and he saw what didn't. He came into the MCU with a clear mission statement of trying to replicate what Stan Lee did for the comics, except do it in a different medium. You cannot go into something with only the goal of replication and not innovation without dooming yourself forever to comparison. I give them full points for aiming for a different aesthetic in Snyder's early days, but they quickly doubted themselves and fell back in on the familiar, becoming just a lesser version of Marvel, a much sloppier version. They lost their trust in their creators, the worst crime in this case that you can commit. They isolated Zack Snyder, fired countless talents off The Flash, frustrated Patty Jenkins. They ticked off nearly all their actors, with pretty much their entire Justice League quitting on them, and only 2 of them remaining. When they decided to finally end the DCEU, they preemptively announced it. They didn't give the remaining movies the grace to find their audience. They were left out in the cold to die. They must know a story is only good as the creator, and sadly, there was no creator for the whole of the DCEU. There was no passionate central figure that had to see this get made. This was no one's dream. It was something devised by a cynical group of executives that just wanted to get on a fad and didn't want to be left out. It was just FOMO. So if you want to know who the real killer is, it's apathy. Apathy from the producers who are more interested in a paycheck rather than understanding why something by someone else actually succeeded. Apathy for the vision of those trusted and the people hired to bring this to life. The moviegoers' apathy when they decide there was nothing here to care about. Apathy for anything that comes next. The DCEU died from starvation because it could not find any sustenance along a road too well traveled. And so the producers let it wander, desperate, starving, and lost, before they finally made the decision to put it down. And that is case closed. And that is it for this video. Do you agree with me? Did the producers effectively kill the DCU in the crib? What do you hope to see for the new DCU under James Gunn? Thanks again for watching, and as always, be sure to subscribe for more historical film flashbacks and modern movie analysis. Until next time, please keep those wheels turning. Thank you.
for replenishing stolen food stamp funds, an overhaul to regulations around pharmacy benefit managers, which are scummy middlemen who negotiate drug prices and determine what medications are covered by insurance firms, and who often charge more for a drug than what they pay to the pharmacies to dispense them, keeping the difference in profit. The spending package originally also included bipartisan bills that would crack down on junk fees used by ticket sellers and hotels to jack up your prices that they typically don't tell you about until the end of the checkout process. And it would have criminalized some deepfake images as well as revenge porn. The new bill that actually passed was whittled down to 100 pages, largely because the pharmacy benefit manager language was so lengthy because healthcare regulations tend to be highly technical. But it stripped out all of that, opting instead to provide for the continued functions of government at their current funding levels, and also adding about $110 billion in relief funds for survivors of natural disasters as a response to recent hurricanes Milton and Helene, and $10 billion in economic aid for farmers. On CNN, Senator Haggerty also noted that his and his colleagues' phones were ringing off the hook with constituent complaints about the bill in response to Musk's tweets. And if that's not the most convincing show of the power that Elon Musk gained when he bought Twitter and changed the algorithm to show his posts more prominently than everyone else's on one of the largest social media sites on the planet, and then turned around and bought an election, I don't know what is. We have an unelected foreign billionaire with zero political experience influencing the actions of both the president and the American people, largely through the alleged propagation of disinformation. And it took just one afternoon of tweeting from the Twitter to kill a major spending bill and nearly shut down the entire government, prompting Democrats to wake from their post-election slumber and declare him President Musk. Given that Trump hates sharing the limelight and certainly hates sharing power, that title quickly got under his skin, with CNN reporting that he made it clear at a recent conservative Turning Point USA event that Musk is definitely not the president. But in many ways, the damage is done, with many in the GOP turning to Musk for leadership in addition to their loyalties to Trump. In fact, with Speaker of the House Mike Johnson's leadership in tatters after the government funding bill fiasco, some Republicans are calling for Elon Musk himself to become Speaker of the House. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul made the call on Twitter, saying Elon should take over from Johnson. Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeted her support, saying she'd be open to supporting Elon Musk for Speaker of the House. Utah Senator Mike Lee agreed as well. According to reporting by Truth Out, the Speaker of the House has always been an elected representative serving in the House. However, it's not technically required that the Speaker of the House be a representative. The Constitution just says that the House of Representatives shall choose their Speaker and other officers. That's it. Beyond that, it's up to the House to set the rules, and nothing technically says for an unelected billionaire Elon Musk can't be the Speaker of the House of Representatives of the United States. According to the National Constitution Center, the Speaker of the House is one of the most important roles in Washington. It is second in line to the presidency. So if Musk took the speakership, only two people would have to die, one of whom is nearly in his 80s, for him to become the president. Though, of course, he is foreign-born, and the Constitution says the president must be born in the United States, so that would present its own challenges. The National Constitution Center goes on to say, the Speaker plays a key role as negotiator between the House and President and with the Senate, and as the point person for the House's fundamental role in originating and passing legislation and controlling the power of the purse to tax and spend taxpayer money. As Speaker, Musk would be tasked with forging deals between the House, Senate, and Trump, and would make calls about how to spend taxpayer money, which admittedly is a role he's already been promised in the yet-to-be-created Department of Government Efficiency, but he would have a direct ability to introduce and dramatically influence tax spending as Speaker of the House, which would include passing legislation that affects his many business interests that are the reason why he's the richest man in the world to begin with. Of course, any suggestion that Musk become House Speaker would require he be actually voted into the speakership, something that has proven to be very difficult for Republicans to find consensus over in recent years, and which would be even more difficult given how unpopular Musk is even with some Republicans, and the absolutely minuscule majority Republicans will hold in the House starting next month. So, is it realistic? No, probably not. But is it concerning that some of our elected officials are calling for the placement of the unelected, foreign-born, richest man in the world as the head of the chamber of government that is meant to be the most representative and responsive to the people? Yes. Yes, it is. The problem with Elon Musk and with unelected plutocrats generally is that he has all the power that comes from being an elected official, the ability to influence bills and laws, the ability to determine what the government spends our tax dollars on, and the huge megaphone that comes with being prominent in politics, but has none of the controls. He doesn't have to worry about re-election because he can buy whatever election he likes. He doesn't have to be answerable to the people because we didn't elect him in the first place. Elon Musk is the epitome of everything that goes wrong when oligarchy and especially plutocracy is allowed to take hold in a country. And our lack of any real campaign finance regulations is directly to blame for the growing influence of foreign-born billionaires on our government. I have made so many episodes at this point about campaign finance reform and the Citizens United decision and the dangerous role money plays in our government, and I will go blue in the face continuing to scream about it. Over the course of nearly half a decade posting videos on YouTube, I have created over 280 videos, and I have studied and discussed everything from healthcare to the US relationship with Israel to the housing crisis to the crisis with our education system and so much more. Every single subject I have looked into, every single one could be significantly improved if we got money out of our politics. If political campaigns were publicly financed and everyone had a fair shot at running for office and no one with deep pockets could come in and buy ad space and airtime and create super PACs that hire door knockers and actively campaign in favor of policies and the politicians that will further their personal interests. If corporations weren't given the same free speech rights as individuals and weren't allowed to spend billions hiring lobbyists to flout the will of the people in the name of the will of the wealthy few. And there is no political divide on this issue. According to Pew Research, 80% of US adults believe that people who donated a lot of money to political campaigns have too much influence when it comes to the decisions that members of Congress make. And 73% believe that lobbyists and special interest groups have too much influence when it comes to the decisions that members of Congress make. Controlling for party affiliation, 72% of Democrats and 78% of Republicans think lobbyists and special interest groups have too much influence, and 80% of Democrats and 83% of Republicans believe people who donated money have too much influence. And 72% of US adults say there should be limits on election spending, including 71% of Republicans and 76% of Democrats. This is a thing we can all agree on. This gets at the very heart of the class struggle we're all becoming collectively aware of in America because of the recent murder of UHC CEO Brian Thompson and the outpouring of support for Luigi Mangione. That event brought light to the issue of our abysmal healthcare system in this country and how mad we all are about it. But for me, it is so much bigger than that because, again, our healthcare system is abysmal because of the outsized influence money from the healthcare and health insurance industries plays in our politics, influencing regulations or the lack thereof, and killing the prospect of any kind of healthcare reform that would create the real changes needed